Smart and Muses, and another evening of discussing the characters from The Lord of the Rings in the books, not the movies. So when we get to the part where we're going to be talking about the most perfect man who ever lived in fiction, Faramir, it will be only from the books. And I think that if you haven't read the books, you're going to be very excited to hear how perfect he is. But someone that is also perfect in very dark way is none other than Feanor, the Alpha Chad, the man that ruined everything.
Hey, now
Oath
wait a minute.
Taker. Hey, that whole oath, the whole Cimmerals, come on.
It was justified.
Everything up.
It was all justified. We will not tolerate chicanery and blasphemy in this stream right now. No.
Hey, it's my channel. I'll tolerate. Well, hey, never take an oath. Just don't do it. Especially
it's a bad
dark
idea.
oath against the gods, or rather the Valar. It's gonna always end up badly.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Never challenge the gods.
Well, oh goodness.
But before we talk about the god-like Faramir, we decided that we were gonna very briefly talk about breaking news. We have breaking news. Yes, we do, Precious. And for once, when I say precious, it's not the way I always say precious. It is literally precious. We have the announcement that none other than Warner Brothers is to release a new Lord of the Rings movie, The Hunt for Gollum, in 2026.
Stop it.
Stop. Kill me now.
Please. Oh, this is gonna. It's I'm thinking about it. It's like it could be good. It could be. Mm-hmm. I will eat crow if it is. Mm-hmm. I just don't really have a lot of faith in any of these studios right now.
No. I just keep thinking, imagine the worst aspects of The Hobbit, because The Hobbit was starting to get into that modern world where they needed to have those strong women, where you started to have quotas. Now we know it's literally you have to have a quota, because even though Peter Jackson is on to produce, and we all know that he is a magnificent filmmaker, and what he accomplished with the original Lord of the Rings trilogy was absolutely amazing, astonishing, all of that, he still has those quotas he has to deal with. He will be having parameters of the story that he will have to be overseeing.
And even the title itself, it's like, are we going to get Aragorn hunting for Gollum? Because I mean, that would be kind of a neat concept, just saying just Ranger Aragorn just kind of surviving in the wilderness while hunting down this creature. That would be kind of cool. But if it's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours of my precious getting screamed, I'm not no, I don't want that.
Well, even if it isn't, and they have Aragorn, are they going to get Viggo Mortensen? Or are they going to de-age him? Are they going to recast him? Are they going to have him with Arwen running naked through the forest having sex? I mean, I have all these horror imaginings.
I don't think they'll recast. I think what they could do, which would be kind of neat, would be so I'm just kind of envisioning how I would write the movie in my head. Would be Aragorn as King of Gondor now at this point, kind of start off the movie in like the post War of the Ring arc when he's like king and kind of getting everything settled, and like maybe have his son sitting on his lap and he's regaling him with the story, and that's when it kind of does a flashback, and then you get to see younger Aragorn played by whomever they decide to choose, and then they do the story from there. That's the only way I can see Viggo Mortensen getting involved in the project. He's weight. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him recently. He's haggard. He's an old man now. So
he's earned it. Maybe I'll tell you. Sometimes I feel a little bit like that when I think about my life, and I'm not even that old yet. But it'll be very difficult to have him, and so. If they're not going to have, say, Aragorn, if they're not going to have, a horrible thought just came to me. A horrible, dark thought. They can't get Ian McKellen, maybe, because he's too old or he doesn't want to do the green screen and all that.
Well, he said he was done with the role.
Yeah, but they could get that guy from the Rings of
Oh, no, 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 no. We're not having meth, Dolph. No, that's not gonna happen. No. Please,
Ah.
don't manifest that, good lord.
Oh, well, if the
Um,
rumors are true that they wanna remake the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and they're
yeah.
gradually introducing these characters so that we can have
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
uh,
they wanna do the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but they wanna do it in the form of a TV show because Amazon only has the TV rights. They don't have the movie rights.
yeah.
And And the thing of
Oh,
it is, I was just thinking about, other casting. You can't get Orlando Bloom again, I don't think. I mean, I think he's too old for the role as well. Although I suppose with him, you could do the de-aging stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to think of who else. I mean, I'm just other possible people that could play Aragorn. I mean, let's be honest. Could you imagine the cries of joy from female fans everywhere if they decided to get who's the heartthrob Superman dude? Um,
Henry
he played,
Cavill?
yeah, Henry Cavill. Could you imagine they casted Henry Cavill as Aragorn?
That actually wouldn't
It wouldn't be bad.
but
It wouldn't be bad, but I mean, like that, they got to get somebody big to play the role. I think him or
yeah,
Hemsworth, I would think would be the top two.
if they even do them, I'm of the opinion it's gonna be 2 hours of Lady Toriel. It's gonna be all these made up characters. It's gonna be characters like Brawwyn or all those ones
Ugh,
like they do you know what I mean? The
yeah,
female Frodo chick, they're all gonna be made up characters. They're not gonna have anything to do with what Tolkien wrote and,
I know. It's it's one of the reasons why I'm still working on the script for it, but I'm working on just my own little fan film right now. It's
mm,
just like it's just to put something out there that's like just respectful of the books, you
yeah,
know. I don't care how low budget or crappy it looks. Like I just want to put something out there, you know.
yeah.
And with this, like you were saying, is Anthony Hopkins still acting? He could do the role of Gandalf, I think. He did Odin pretty well,
Yeah,
but
but would they want to? If even
yeah,
if they want to write them in, that's the thing is,
yeah, that's the
ugh.
thing.
Well,
Uh,
they do have, of course, Andy Serkis, and he's gonna be starring and directing in it, so maybe
mhm.
this was part of how it got greenlit.
Yeah, well, he just did it. He just did a I want to say just did. It was about a year ago, but he did the audiobook for the Silmarillion.
Mhm.
Andy Serkis did. So he knows the material. Um so I mean, benefit of the doubt. I don't like what Saslov said though, that it was a uh I'm paraphrasing here, but he said it was the IP was a fantastic financial opportunity. It's like, oh great, you're just
Oh,
looking
no.
for a cash cow, you know.
Yeah, and when they try to call it a franchise when it's not a franchise at all. Tolkien is on a whole other level of fantasy, and it always frustrates me when people just don't tend to understand that. But part of their statement was, for over 2 decades, moviegoers have embraced the Lord of the Rings film trilogy because of the undeniable devotion Peter, Fran, and Philippa have shown towards protecting the legacy of Tolkien's works and to ensure audiences could experience the incredible world he created in a way that honors his literary vision. You see, that to me screams they have seen the reaction to the Rings of Power.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true. Well, they didn't make the announcement they were going to make the films until Rings of Power had aired and they saw the backlash. And Warner, I don't care what anybody at Warner says to the contrary, Warner saw their pound of flesh that they could take, and they were like, "Yeah, guys, we're going to be making new Lord of the Rings movies."
mhm,
So I agree with you 100%. Yeah, they saw what happened with Rings of Power, and they're like, "We cannot have the same PR disaster." Even if they do have all the inclusivity and DEI crap and all the other nonsense in this movie coming up, they're never going to announce it.
mhm,
They're not going to. They're going to be full throated, honoring Tolkien's legacy, blah 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 blah. And then when the finished product comes out, we're going to roast it. But they're going to have a much better PR campaign, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
Um,
Now they tried to do that with the Rings of Power, but simultaneously they were having many outlets of their surrogates starting to preemptively trash the fans, and that's how we knew something was up.
Well, and then they came out with those posters, and everybody was like, "Wait a minute!" And then I tell everybody, everybody likes to name different things, kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back with that show before it even released.
Mhm.
And what the straw that broke the camel's back was when people saw that poster of quote unquote Galadriel,
Mhm.
where she's full body armor, sitting, legs spread, and just kind of giving like a smug look towards the camera. And that's when everybody was like, "Oh, this is what this is gonna be." Okay,
Yeah.
like we know what's coming.
Well, and then when they let it slip after the trailer that they didn't even have the rights to the story. They were very clever in wording it so that we didn't catch on to that. And that just seemed to me to be very underhanded. And then they said the famous line, "Can we write the novel Tolkien never wrote?"
Tolkien
It's
never
like,
wrote, yeah.
yeah.
Agreed to our partners on these two films, with Andy coming on board to direct Lord of the Rings to Hunt for Gollum. I still think that's a terrible title. We
Yeah.
continue an important commitment to excellence that is a true hallmark of how we want to venture and further contribute to the Lord of the Rings cinematic history. Okay, thank God they didn't say cinematic universe.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, you know what? God bless them. If they come out with something good, I'll praise it. But I'm just so skeptical at this point. I'm so nihilistic when it comes to all these new films and reboots and everything. I'm just and you know what? I think honestly, this is them testing the waters to see, because if they're going to do Hunt for Gollum, they're probably also going to do Escape of Gollum or something along those lines.
Oh, dear.
It's just going to be Gollum and Mirkwood the entire time, just trying to escape. Um,
I don't know. It gives me feelings of the search for Spock. It and nothing wrong with that because I loved Star Trek, but it's like, come on, people.
I don't think I
Uh,
saw that one.
oh my gosh, Star Trek.
No,
Well, the search for Spock. That was the whole big thing because the second movie, Spock went to the great beyond. Oh, if you have not seen the original Star Trek movies, you need to,
I
especially
I I've
Wrath of
seen
Khan.
I've seen Wrath of Khan.
Mhm.
The main Star Trek I've watched is the the old television show. My girlfriend loves it, with Takei and why is Shatner,
Oh,
and
the original series.
the original series. Yeah, that's her big thing. But my dad, he was a huge fan of Wrath of Khan, and he was like, "You got to see this." I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay." I thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah. Sort of
Son
Poopas
of
goes, "Son of
son of
Gollum."
Gollum.
Coming at theater near you. And I agree with Snortopoops with what he says here. I'm not crazy about some of the choices Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens made for the movies, but it's leagues ahead of anything from Ang's of Power.
Yeah, it's true. And well, I just hope they don't like Denethor. See, everybody says Faramir was and we're gonna be talking about Faramir a lot, but everybody says Faramir was the worst written, or as far as like from book to the translation of book to film, he was the worst of the bunch.
Mhm.
When in the movies, and I disagree with that. I think it was Denethor. And
Yeah.
if they Denethor everybody, oh, I'm gonna be so mad.
Well, and I I obviously fall on the Faramir side of it, but it also has to do with how they portrayed it in the movies. A-
Mm,
As far as what is true to who the person was at his core, and because Faramir is ultimately such a noble, noble character and the one that was supposed to be like Tolkien. Tolkien admitted that.
yeah,
Oh, dear. And this is going to be a good segue, but before we do this, oh yes, sort of Poopa says they did Denethor dirty.
they
Yeah,
did.
I'll be interested. I need to do a total pure reread of the books to get back into the Denethor mindset. But you see, that's my concern is that there were some bad aspects of the movies, and the worst aspects of them were many of the things that came kind of from the women, from what I understand. The
Yeah.
way they portrayed Arwen, which was a complete disaster in the Lord of the Rings movies, and the
Hmm.
way they completely character assassinated. It was worse than Jake in The Last Jedi. What they
Yeah.
did to Faramir was unforgivable. They
Well,
realized mistake, obviously, but it was too like,
And the thing of it is too, and I say this about both Faramir and Denethor,
yeah,
the changes were not necessary. It's
mm-mm,
not like in the case of Aragorn in the films where he does have a backstory that lines up similarly to what we see in the films as character growth, but it's all sequestered in the appendix, and it's just his life prior to the events of Lord of the Rings. So they
mhm,
had to take that life and kind of scrunch it inside the story to actually give him some kind of like character arc. Whereas with Faramir and Denethor, you didn't need to change those characters at all. You could have kept them the way that they were in the books, and the movie would have still been perfectly fine.
mhm. Well, and
Yeah.
somehow they had it into their heads that they had to have that climax, quote, unquote, "weird moment" with the Witch King at the end, which completely was not in the book and didn't even make sense in the cinematic version, in their own verse, if you will, for the movie,
Which
because
which which
why
one are
did
you
the Witch
talking
King
about?
just fly away?
Oh, when he breaks Gandalf's staff?
Oh, no, 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 rather in at the end of the 2 towers, like, that was why they had it in their
Oh,
heads
yeah.
that they had to have a little climax moment with
Yeah.
Frodo and Sam, which was ridiculous, and Frodo's just like, "Hey, hello, Mr. Nazgul."
Yeah.
It
No,
it
that Nazgul, after seeing the ring, would have, like, hopped off that beast mid-flight and came after
Yeah, it would
Frodo,
have been
like
over. He would have been a Hobbit snack, but and
yeah.
I think that's why they changed Faramir. They made that decision first, if I'm correct, and
Mhm.
then went and assassinated him, and the oh, it just makes me so furious, but that is, to me, my concerns with this. I think I'm gonna point the finger of judgment a little bit here. I think
'Kay.
that sometimes people have put Peter Jackson on too high a pedestal as to quote unquote respecting Tolkien because the Rings of Power was so bad, people wanted to uplift someone else. And I do believe that Peter Jackson did respect Tolkien and did the best he could with his
Mhm.
adaptation, but he isn't God.
Yeah.
He's not perfect. He made mistakes. Now, one of the reasons I also like him, though, is when he got the criticism, he didn't turn around and attack the fans. He didn't call the fans evil. When
Right,
he took
right.
it like a man, maybe that's why we forgive him. But don't forget that he was doing an adaptation
Yep.
of the works, and it was an imperfect adaptation, though a fantastic trilogy.
Yes. And, well, evidence of what you're saying is, after Rings of Power aired, people looked back on the Hobbit movies more fondly.
Mhm,
Those were not well received at all. It's kinda like the sequel prequel effect with Star Wars. Sequel
mhm,
movies came out and everybody's like everybody looks a little bit has a better opinion of the prequels because of how bad the sequels were. It's the same thing really. It's this it's almost like the opposite of recency bias in a way.
mhm.
Um, you're looking more fondly onto the past, like, oh man, remember how good we had it back then? Why did we ever complain? Why did we ever complain? George, please come back. Like, it's
Yeah,
you know, it's
exactly.
it's the same thing. And you're right. People do put as great of a job as he did on those films in every aspect when it came to cinematography, writing, so on and so forth. Those films do have flaws and particularly flaws when it comes to being an adaptation and flaws when it comes to several characters and those flaws can exist and the films can still be fantastic. It doesn't break the films necessarily. I don't want people who listen to this to get the wrong idea and think, hey, he's really trashing the films. I'm not. I think they're fantastic, but they're not. There's choices that were made. I can go down a list that were completely unnecessary and they should never have been. And if they had tried to stick to the books closer than they already were trying to, I think the films would have actually been better.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
agree.
yeah, that's just my humble opinion on
Eh,
it. So,
yeah, and that's what it is. There's also, I think, a little bit of a savior complex that I have also fallen into, that there's gonna be some great filmmaker that's gonna come in and rescue entertainment,
right.
and, nah,
It,
that's not gonna happen. And we
well,
don't even need it because we will always have the Lord of the Rings. We will always have the Silmarillion. We'll always have the Unfinished Tales and all the 500,000,000 things of Middle Earth
oh
to
yeah,
read and enjoy. So we don't need it to be in cinema for us to have this love to experience this great story. And maybe this is a good time for everyone to go ahead and reread all of it. Start with the very beginning, have some fun, read the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, the Lord of the
Mhm.
Rings, and then anything else that is of Tolkien's writings that you would like to. And then look at the movies with a grain of salt, maybe. This was also a huge one. This really pissed me off in the movies when they had Frodo turn against Sam and send him away.
Yes. Oh,
That
goodness
was
gracious, yes. Yeah. Well, actually, you wanna know which one? There's 2 that aggravated me. Well, besides Denethor. Denethor is my top tier. That pissed me off to no end.
awful.
Because Denethor was a noble man. Portraying him as this Shakespearean villain was a terrible idea. But the other one that got me was the elves at Helm's Deep.
Oh, yeah, that was out
That
of place.
that upset the hell out of me because if you read the Battle of Helm's Deep in the books, it is an incredibly heroic defense on the part of the men of Rohan. And
Mhm.
by inserting the elves into it, you're taking away from the heroism of the Rohirrim. And also it's kind of like just the I I keep wanting to use the word activism. That's not the right word. The elvish activity, so to speak, in the movies, other than Legolas, just kind of stops there. Like
Mhm.
you don't get any kind of closure with about the elves being there. It's just there's nothing else after this. Like, oh, all the elves that helped us are dead. Okay, let's move on. It's like, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Though I wasn't as annoyed as I could have been because I was so relieved that they edited out Eowyn, Arwen out of that. So I was like, "Oh,
yes,
thank goodness," because that would have been cringe like you wouldn't believe it. Well, okay, well, that's a little bit of our breaking news, but it went a little longer than I wanted to, but I
right,
think that this
right.
was something that we needed to talk about and get off our chests.
We'll
But
we'll do another stream at some point. We'll just air out our grievances about the
yeah, we'll do it
films.
on Festivus. But
There you go.
speaking of the one thing I will never forgive Peter Jackson for, which is Faramir, who is completely different in especially the Two Towers in the books. For
Mhm,
starters, he I think it's unfair to say that Faramir was not tempted by the ring. He was tempted as HELL hockey sticks, all of that. But because he knew how powerful it was, that was why he didn't want to have anything to do with it. It's like, how do I say this? Let's just say a Ouija board. I'm not just, don't want anyone to, don't at me, please, about this.
right.
But it's like, no, I turn away from that, and my religion says, no, 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 that's a dark side or whatever. So I, if I saw a Ouija board lying on the side of the road, I wouldn't pick it up. And that's the way
Right.
Faramir was toward the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And the dynamic of Boromir and Faramir is very interesting because where Boromir obviously is a good soul,
Hmm.
but he's incredibly proud and incredibly I'm trying to think of the right word. Unwise. He kind of acts on impulse a lot, and much more than Faramir. Faramir's even though he's the younger brother, he's obviously the wiser brother. And like you were saying, that wisdom um, was very much a contributing factor in him not taking the ring, or even lusting after it. Um, the other thing too about him is the fact that he was pretty much mentored by Gandalf. He had a deep love for Gandalf, um, which
The
his
wizard's
father,
pupil.
yes, the wizard's pupil, that his father really did not like.
Mhm. No.
Denethor was not a fan of that. Um, but but yeah, he was the other thing too. He was much more gentle than Boromir. I think that's the reason why a lot of people who read the books love Faramir is he's just a really gentle soul.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm sorry I interrupted you. I'll let you continue to crush on
No,
Faramir.
no, no, it's okay. I have a whole video of it when we did the Steward and the King portion of our run read through where we went chapter by chapter with Rennie L and C Kenobi, we went off on how much we love that man. The Steward and the King is one of the most perfect chapters. But one aspect that they sort of showed a bit in the movie, but not as much as they could have, was the
Mhm.
dreamer part of him, that Faramir and Boromir were given a dream, but Faramir was given it like more than Boromir. The
Yes.
dream about the riddle and the Isildur's bane, etc. And he would often dream of Numenor.
hmm Some say the going theory is that it was Olmo who gave them those dreams.
Mhm.
Because if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they were near when they had those dreams, they were in Osgiliath, if I recall correctly. Um, I want to say they were out on campaign, but I could be wrong. Or they were defending Osgiliath. I can't remember which off the top of my head, but I know they were. The reason I bring it up is because obviously Olmo is the Valor of Water, and the theory goes is because they were by the Anduin, and because of how pressing everything was and the growing strength of Sauron and everything, that Olmo. The timing worked itself out accordingly to where Olmo was able to give them those dreams.
Mhm.
But it ended up being Boromir going to Rivendell and not Faramir. Faramir stayed behind and protected Athelion.
Yeah. And that even though he's a very thoughtful person, he is a great heroic man. And Boromir and Faramir were the only two that actually survived at that weight, with maybe two others, and they had to swim
Yeah,
in their armor. It was
yeah. It was very yeah, because you're right. They did have to swim in their armor. I'm kind of recalling everything now. Yeah. Um, because if I recall correctly, yeah, Osgiliath was under siege, wasn't it?
oh yeah, correct. Yes.
I don't have the stuff near me right now. But yeah, it was under siege, and yeah, they had to escape via swimming across the Anduin. Um, but anyway, what was I gonna say? I do have a page pulled up here about Faramir, though.
Mhm.
Just I have the book on my bookshelf over here. I'll grab it here in just a second.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Um, he did not. He was not fond of warfare either. I think that's something that needs to be talked about. Is the fact
Yes.
of he was not he was a hell of a fighter, but he didn't like it.
No. Well, it's like we say here, Sword of Poop, it's the whole, I do not love the sword for its sharpness. Faramir's
hmm
showing the essential differences. And I actually have this up here. Let me bring it up. The entire one. He even felt sad after he had to kill the Rohir, not Rohirrim.
The
God,
Haradrim.
thank you, Haradrim.
Yep.
Yeah, I am wise enough to know that there are some perils from which a man must flee. Oh, here we go. For myself, I would see the white tower tree in flower again in the courts of the kings, and the silver crown return, and Minas Tirith in peace. Minas Anor again as of old, full of light, high and fair, beautiful as a queen among other queens, not a mistress of many slaves, nay, not even a kind mistress of willing slaves. War must be, while we defend our lives against a destroyer who would devour all. But I do not love the bright sword for its sharpness, nor the arrow for its swiftness, nor the warrior for his glory. I love only that which they defend, the city of the men of Numenor, and I would have loved her for her memory, her ancientry, her beauty, and her present wisdom, not feared, save as men may fear the dignity of a man old and wise.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of Tolkien's kind of really how Tolkien felt at heart about war, in a sense, coming out in those
Mhm,
words, because everybody knows he was a soldier in World War One, and I feel he understood that there is a kind of sad necessity to conflict oftentimes, but the end result of the conflict has to be something virtuous. I
mhm.
think it is what Tolkien's trying to get through vicariously through Faramir. Um, is that we have this terrible thing that we do to each other, but what are we protecting? What are we trying to um, um, maintain. And it's that paragraph you have pulled up right now is just it's gorgeous writing, number one, but it
Mhm.
really tugs at the heartstrings, like, you know, just this idea of this man who's been stuck in this really terrible position trying to fight this terrible war, and his brother's dead and his dad's kind of a pain in the ass, and
Mhm.
you know, he's stuck here, and he's just thinking to himself, it's like, it's, yeah, I got to keep my, it's almost like kind of like I got to keep my head focused on the end goal here.
Mhm.
You know, I'm protecting my precious city, and that's what matters right now.
Yeah,
But
precisely. Also, the way the scene unfolds with Frodo and Faramir especially, it's more the 2 of them talking with Sam kind of butting in now and then. They're
yeah,
almost playing a bit of a game of chess because Frodo doesn't want necessarily reveal what he knows, and Faramir kinda knows what they know, but he knows that they can't say.
you're
And
right, right.
and they go on like that for pages. It's just really clever.
It's such fantastic writing. I'm gonna grab the book real
Yeah,
quick because when we
and
started the stream, I had actually just gotten off work, so I was a
no,
bit
I understand.
unprepared, as it were.
Well, and then
But
they sit and they're reminiscing about Boromir, and he says, "In this I remember of Boromir as a boy, when we together learned the tale of our sires and the history of our city, that always it displeased him that his father was not king. How many hundreds of years need it take to make a steward a king if the king returns not? Few years, maybe, and other places of less royalty." My father answered, "In Gondor, 10,000 years would not suffice." Alas, poor Boromir. Does that tell you something of him? It does, says Frodo. Yet he always treated Aragorn with honor. I doubt it not, said Faramir. If he was satisfied of Aragorn's claim, as you say, he would greatly reverence him. Ah, you see, this is also a good place to geek out with more Boromir stuff.
right,
Yeah, it's the movie does a bit of a disservice by showing too much conflict between Aragorn and Boromir, in my opinion, because he really did reverence him, and they did respect each other. Even most they had some contention a little bit because he just kept saying, "Let's go this way, let's go that way." No one was
right,
listening to him, but they were brothers.
yeah.
Mm,
And the thing of it was is B- Boromir. I know we're talking about Faramir right now, but with Boromir, none of his advice, for lack of a better word, was malicious in any way.
mhm,
It was like, no, I'm trying to help you guys. We have this route, we can do this, we can do that, and nobody really listened to him, and which is unfortunate. But
mhm.
no,
Yeah,
you brought up the steward and the king. Not to jump too far ahead.
yeah,
Um,
perfect
my
chapter.
my when he's made Prince of Ithilien,
Oh,
that's the best.
my shipper
and
heart.
oh, who was it? Oh man, okay, no, I'm opening the books because I'm ashamed of myself. I can't remember his name. The um the soldier who um he got exiled from Minas Tirith, but he was made captain of the guard of Faramir.
Oh,
Um
yes. Ishmagard or something. Why do I
he I want to say Baragon? No, that's not it. Or it might be it. Hold on. See
Well, yeah, because
Gondor.
technically he had to be punished for leaving his post, even though he went for a good reason.
Well, he was punished because he killed, I want to say he killed two men who were
Oh,
standing in
maybe
his
I
way.
well, that
Zimrahel. Hold on. I'm finding this because is the field of Cormallen? Captains are stupid. Blah blah
everybody
blah
Google.
blah.
Yeah,
The hell with Google. I'm finding this in the books.
yeah.
Um, Garden of the Houses. Um, oh my goodness.
I know I'm ashamed of myself that I'm having a mind blank too. Well, because I have it opened. Well, I'm still up with him in the window in the west, which is the title of the chapter,
Yep.
which is pretty daggone amazing. You
Or
could
I
just
just
reread that over and over again. Baragons, thank you, Baragons. So I was right.
Paragons.
I said
Yep,
her
Paragons. Yep.
Beauregard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Um,
close.
you know what else I just ran into in my flipping of the pages is when he met Eowyn.
Oh, well, of course.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
we're
that's
gonna
good
get
stuff.
there.
Chad Faramir, bro.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
But anyway, um, where are we leaving off at? Okay, so they got him and Boromir both got dreams, and Boromir um left to Rivendell, and that had to have been I mean, because really Boromir was something the movies did get right. Not to talk about the movies too much, but something the movies did get right was when Faramir is talking to Pippin and he says Boromir was always the soldier. Um,
Mhm.
and as good of a try as Faramir, he was struggling in the books to protect Athelion. Um, and although I'm reading here,
It was a thankless job, though, too. But he
yeah,
had such love for the land. That's why it was so perfect that he was made Prince of Athelion, and that's where he and Eowyn were going to make their garden.
yep, in
Yeah.
her bad stew.
No, hey, well, that's only movie verse, all right?
I
Actually,
like to think
probably Eowyn wasn't cooking at all. She had her servants to do it.
that's
But
that's a fair point. Yeah.
in any case, as they're all talking there and they're going back and forth, the stories of Isildur, etc. Now Faramir's voice sank to a whisper. But this much I learned or guessed, and I've kept it ever secret in my heart since, that Isildur took somewhat from the hand of the unnamed ere he went away from Gondor, never to be seen among mortal men again.
Hmm.
Here I thought was the answering to Mithrandir's questioning, but it seemed to them a matter that concerned only the seekers after ancient learning, nor when riddling words of our dream were debated among us did I think of Isildur's bane as being the same thing, for Isildur was slain, etc., etc. What
Hmm.
in truth this thing is, I cannot yet guess. Because we forget that most people didn't know literally it was a ring and what
Yeah.
was really going on. But
Mm,
he knew this, that there was something. He goes, a
yep.
fell weapon, perchance, devised by the Dark Lord. If it were a thing that gave advantage in battle, I can very well believe that Boromir, the proud and fearless, often rash, ever anxious for the victory of Minas Tirith, and his
Hmm.
own glory therein, might desire such a thing and be allured by it. Alas, that he ever went on that errand. I should have been chosen by my father and the elders, but he put himself forward as being the older and the hardier, both true, and he would not be stayed. But fear no more. I would not take this thing if it lay by the highway, nor not were Minas Tirith falling in ruin and I alone could save her. So using the weapon of the Dark Lord for her good and my glory. No, I do not wish for such triumphs, Frodo, son of Drogo. Boom!
Yep. Yep. I I don't want it. Keep that thing away from me.
Yeah, that is the Faramir we know, not
Yep.
the
Oh.
time for me to show my my quality.
Uh.
It's just painful.
Yep. Yep. The, the Faramir's quality. It
Yeah, I
hurts.
mean, they took a line from because it is a thing. But he kind of says it ironic, like, "Oh, this will be time for me to show it," but in the book, but it's not. It's not what that is in the show. It's like he was truly under its spell, and then he's like, "Nah, now
Yeah.
Daddy
Yeah.
will love me. I'm gonna take." No, I mean, this is who the man is.
Yeah.
Listen to this man.
Yeah, he's an incredibly noble, wise man. Just saying, nah. That. Well,
Yeah.
and that's an interesting thing too. Not to get too off target, but yes, the ring does have a temptation to it. Um, but I feel like in I think what what goes on with Faramir and also what happens several um thousand years prior with Isildur kind of takes the ring isn't as tempting, quote unquote, as it is in the books or as it is in the movies.
Mhm.
Um because Isildur takes it as a Vergild. He doesn't take it because he's like, oh yes, my precious ring that I have now. No, it's
Mhm.
Sauron killed my dad. I'm taking his ring. Like that's what it was. And then you have Faramir just outright rejecting it. I think it's just something to note. But no, you're right. I again, I know it fits into what we're talking about
Mhm.
with the books. Why did they do this? Why did they make that change? I don't understand why they changed Faramir's character to such a drastic degree. It'll never make sense to me.
Mm.
Um, I I don't know. I think it was very foolish considering that quote, like you were saying, boom, it just outlines how noble of a character he was. He just said, I don't want to touch it. Just put it back in your pocket, like
Mhm.
like, keep it away. Um, and he does eventually let Frodo go.
Mhm.
Um, after a whole lot of dialogue, and pull it up right here. Um, because he had already something I think we should talk about too is the fact that he already knew Boromir was dead.
Mhm. Yeah, because he
Before,
had seen the vision of him. Well, it was a
yeah.
vision slash real, but also a vision.
Well, and then something else that the movies I'm pretty sure got right. I'm gonna have to double check, but was the boat going
Mhm.
down the Anduin. Um,
Correct.
that was spotted, and obviously Boromir's horn.
Yeah, and
Um,
they even said, "How is that so?" Because it would have taken almost magic arts for it not to have foundered.
yeah, yeah, and well, again, going back to it, it's like the Valar are very much still at play. Um, in Middle Earth. If you go with the fan theory that Ulmo was the one who gave them those dreams,
Mhm.
um, it very well could have been Ulmo who made sure the boat didn't get like torn asunder by the falls of Rhoros or the Anduin River itself, and it made sure that everything was intact more or less, so that Faramir and Denethor would know what had happened to Boromir. Um, Let me find there's a specific thing I didn't get a chance to actually find it. Um, I'm flipping through here about Faramir,
Yeah.
and I can't find it for love or money. Um, Windows of the West, Gondor,
While
10,000
you're
years.
doing this,
Yeah,
Snurdipus
yeah,
First says, "I suspect the ring wasn't trying to ensnare Faramir because that would not get it back to Sauron."
yeah.
Or maybe or just said it just well, also remember Boromir didn't really fall, if you will, after months of being around it. So it
Yeah,
it took
that's
a
true.
while, and it was even then it was a moment of madness. And he snapped out of it really fast. I also like Faramir going on and on about the men of Numenor, and he talks about the stewards. And they say, and Sam's all like, "Hey, tell us about the elves." He's like, "Well, I don't know as much about the elves, but Mithrandir and all these guys, and I know
Yeah.
about the White Lady." So it's a geek fest of Lord of the Rings lore.
Oh yeah, and so something to note too is the tenacity and the resilience of that line of stewards because it took quite a long time for Boromir to get driven nuts. Faramir outright rejected the ring. Obviously, he hadn't been around it as long as Boromir had been. But let's also not forget Denethor, who had been literally in the White Tower warring with Sauron via Palantir and not allow Sauron couldn't break him. And I think that's a testament to just them as kind of like a trio of men, so to speak, is the fact of like, yeah, Boromir and Denethor eventually kind of snapped, but it took ages, and
Mhm.
it took a set of circumstances to make that happen. Um, and thankfully enough, Faramir was not exposed to the ring for too long, although I don't think he would have taken it regardless. Um, but the interesting thing that I always kind of asked myself while reading this, I want to get your take on it. obviously Faramir had duties they had to tend to, being a captain of Gondor and protecting Ithilien and everything like that. But do you think the thought ever crossed the character's mind, like putting yourself in that universe for a moment, to actually go with Frodo and Sam
No,
as kind of like a bodyguard, more or less, aiding
no,
their quest?
I don't think so because he was very clear. My place is here, and I'm going to let you go pass through here. Here's your food.
Yeah,
Let's sit and chat. I'm not bound for this journey.
yeah.
I just never.
It's always kind of crossed my mind. I agree with you, but I've heard it kind of like thrown around in different circles. Like, I wonder if there was some kind of maybe post Frodo and them separating, and Frodo heading eastward towards Mordor, where Faramir maybe in the back of his mind might have been like, I might have I should have gone with him.
Mm, I
Due,
I
due to his due to Faramir's character, like we were saying earlier, he's very gentle and caring, and he looks out, so to speak, and also, as kind of a homage to Boromir, I guess would be the best way to put it. Obviously, it didn't happen. I'm talking completely hypothetical, but
yeah. Well, I think that that's maybe us putting what we would do if we were there. That we
that's
would do that.
that's a fair assessment. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I did want to highlight eventually Faramir does know it's the One Ring because Sam just can't help himself and blurts it out.
Yeah.
Because he was
That,
talking about Boromir, and he's like, "Hey, Boromir, he really wanted he really wanted what he wanted from the moment he first started. He wanted the enemy's ring." And Sam goes, I mean, sorry, Frodo goes, "Sam!" And 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 then Sam goes, "Save me. There I go again." And he goes, "Now look here, sir." He says to Faramir, "Don't you go taking advantage of my master because his servants know better than a fool. You've spoken very handsome all along, put me off my guard, talking of elves and all. But handsome is as handsome does, we say." Here's the line. Now's a chance to show your quality. "So it
mm,
seems," says Faramir, slowly and very softly, with a strange smile. "So that is the answer to all the riddles. The One Ring that was thought to have perished from the world, and Boromir tried to take it by force, and you escaped and ran all the way to me. And here in the wild I have you two halflings, and a host of men at my call, and the Ring of Rings. A pretty stroke of fortune, a chance for Faramir, captain of Gondor, to show his quality. Ha! He stood up, very tall and very stern, his eyes glinting. Frodo. So again, this is they twisted it in the movie, but this is where it is. And then Frodo and Sam sprang from their stools and set themselves side by side with their backs to the wall, fumbling for their sword hilts. There was a silence. All the men in the cave stopped talking and looked towards them in wonder. But
yep.
Fear sat down again in his chair and began to laugh quietly,
Hmm.
and then suddenly became grave again. Alas for Boromir, it was too sore a trial. How you have increased my sorrow, you two strange wanderers from a far country, bearing the peril of men. But you are less judges of men than I of halflings. We are truth seekers, we men of Gondor. We boast seldom and then perform or die in the attempt. Not if I found it on the highway would I take it, I said. Even if I were such a man as to desire this thing, and even though I knew not clearly what this thing was when I spoke, still I should take these words as a vow and be held by them. But I am not such a man, or I am wise enough to know that there are some perils from which a man must flee. Sit at peace and be comforted, Samwise. If you seem to have stumbled, think that it was fated to be so. Your heart is shrewd as well as faithful, and saw clearer than your eyes. For strange though it may seem, it was safe to declare this to me. It may even help the master that you love. It shall turn to his good if it is in my power. So be comforted. But do not even name this thing aloud. But do not even name this thing again aloud. Once is enough. See, that's just a
He's
beautiful.
he's so good.
I know, damn it. I know. I'm thinking I'm just gonna read one sentence, and then, but the way it whole unfolds, and you can just see it, and I can see David Wenham doing this too. He's a good enough actor. Actors do read what's put into their mouths through the script and the directors, but it's there's just such mutual respect between all three of them, and but then he's also pretty much, but don't say it again.
Yeah.
Don't say it again. I guess
Just
now,
keep it
now I
quiet.
know. Oh boy, I guess I have to hold to it now. Oops.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
and then I got it right here. I found what I was looking for. His interrogation of Gollum. And
Oh.
even in that, he was kind. He was stern. He was a lot
Mhm,
more stern than he was with Frodo and Sam, but he was still he even told well, here, I'll just read it.
mhm,
Um Then I say to you, said Faramir, turning to Gollum, you are under doom of death. But while you walk with Frodo, you are safe for our part. Yet if ever you be found by any man of Gondor astray without him, the doom shall fall, and may death find you swiftly, within Gondor or without, if you do not serve him well. Now answer me, whither would you go? You were his guide, he says. Whither were you leading him? Gollum made no reply. This I will not have secret, said Faramir. Answer me, or I will reverse my judgment. Still Gollum did not answer. I will answer for him, said Frodo. He brought me to the Black Gate, as I asked, but it was impassable. There are no open gates into that nameless land, said Faramir. Seeing this, we turned aside and came by the southward road, Frodo continued, for he said that there is, or there may be, a path near Minas Ithil. Minas Morgul, said Faramir. I do not know clearly, said Frodo, but the path climbs, I think, up into the mountains on the northern side of that vale where the old city stands. It goes up to a high cleft, and so down to that which is beyond. Do you know the name of that high pass? Said Faramir. No, said Frodo. It is called Cirith Ungol. Gollum hissed sharply and began muttering to himself. Is not that its name? Said Faramir, turning to him. No, said Gollum, and then he squealed, as if something had stabbed him. Yes, yes, we heard the name once, but what does the name matter to us? Master says he must get in, so we must try some way. There is no other way to try, no? No other way, said Faramir. How do you know that? And who has explored all the confines of that dark realm? He looked long and thoughtfully at Gollum. Presently he spoke again. Take this creature away, Anborn. Treat him gently, but watch him, and do not you, Smeagol, try to dive into the falls. The rocks have such teeth there as would slay you before your time. Leave us now and take your fish.
mhm. Yeah, see, he's a nice guy. But then he immediately tells Frodo, it's like, Frodo, I think you do very unwisely in this. I do not think you should go with this creature. It is wicked.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And
Not
it's like,
and
he discerns that malice eats it like a canker and the evil is growing.
yep. He will lead you to no good. If you will part with him, I will give him safe conduct and guidance to any point on the borders of Gondor that he may name.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So he's a
it's like
very discerning man.
yes, and he kind of clearly knew uh where Gollum was taking them, and he didn't like it. He's like,
No.
I know what that is. You do not want to go there.
Yeah. Exactly,
But
but how gentle. You're right. I mean, he wasn't messing around. He wasn't being fooled by Gollum, and he's like, "Hey, you can try that again, but you might die. But here, eat your fish and
yeah,
kind of chill out." Hello, Keely. Yeah, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. You're
yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
it.
that's
That's it.
true.
That's what made it so funny. And I should also say before that, with Sam and him have another moment where he once again says, "You showed your quality, the very highest," and he said, "You said that my master Frodo has an elvish hair." He says, "You have an air that reminds me of Gandalf of wizards,"
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, because he's so, that's who he is. So he notices there's something very spiritual and deep about him. Maybe, said Faramir, maybe you discern from far away the air of Numenor. Good night. So he doesn't even say, yes, that's because I'm so perfect. It's like, well, it's our people, Numenor. whatever,
That would be a tonal shift. He just goes full blown smug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yes, I am. I'm
Yes, I
perfect.
am. Thank you for
Yes.
noticing,
Thank you
peasant.
for noticing. Yeah. And there's just some really cool moments where he bows low to Frodo and draws a curtain and passes into the cave. I just imagine him being all wise and having an air of authority. When they first saw him, they noticed, this is definitely the leader, and it just makes complete sense. And the men respect him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they all love each other so much in a good in the brotherly way. Nowadays,
Yes,
everything
yes.
has to be
Yeah,
something more than it actually is.
right.
But oh yeah. Oh, and also this is the rare thing, only barely approaching a ritual in the entire Lord of the Rings, because Tolkien was not keen on that. But before they eat, or rather, quote, before they ate, Faramir and all his men turned and faced west in a moment of silence. Faramir signaled to Frodo and Sam that they should do likewise. So we always do, he said as they sat down. We look towards Numenor that was, and beyond to Elvenhome that is, and to that which is beyond Elvenhome and ever will be. It's like a blessing before meals. Close, not quite, but close.
Right.
We've all seen that happen. It's like, okay, time to eat. Everyone looks awkwardly at each other. Who's going to say the blessing? But, it's quiet. It's like, oh, we're all going to turn east, or rather west.
Right. This is the homage to our ancestors, I guess, so to speak, before we partake of our meal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Not a religious ritual, but close, because he was very cautious about that. Well, yes, I am a good boy, says sort of Poopus. Yes, you are.
Well, yes, I am the bestest boy.
And I think that's really kind of, well, the encounter, they kind of just kind of say goodbye to each other. Oh, they do say the line of, I think we understand each other, but totally different in context. They understand each other because they get it. They know what they're dealing with. And Frodo says to my man, most gracious host. He calls him most gracious host. It was said to me by Elrond Half-Elven that I should find friendship upon the way, secret and unlooked for. Certainly I looked for no such friendship as you have shown. To have found it turns evil to great good.
Mm-hmm. It gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then as a part, he's like, okay, we're gonna part. Still think you don't be doing this. Don't do it. And then he goes, the land of dreams is a false peace, and for a while all evil is withdrawn. Fare you well, why you may. He embraced the hobbits then after the manner of his people, stooping and placing his hands upon their shoulders and kissing their foreheads. Go with the good will of all good men.
Yep.
Oh. I love him. And, well, but it's a bro moment too. It's
yeah,
a
it
pure
really is.
bro masculine moment.
It really, really is. It's like Faramir is almost in that older brother role, kind of,
Yeah.
And he's really looking on Frodo and Sam like his little bros. He's like, and I think in the back of his mind, we kind of get what he's thinking about the entire time in this last bit in the chapter, the Forbidden Pool. Only I would not have you go to death or to torment, and I do not think that Mithrandir would have chosen this way. That's probably what's in the back of his mind the entire time. Like, I really don't want them doing this, but I don't really have an option here. Like, I have to let them go.
Yeah. And even though Faramir was absolutely right, he was absolutely wrong about Gollum, because yes, Gollum was bad news, all of that. But in the way the whole providential thing unfolds, if it weren't for Gollum going with them and doing all of that, the ring would not have been destroyed because of Frodo's failure, quote unquote failure. So it had to be. They had to have this wicked betrayer along with them for that moment. That was the only way the ring could be destroyed. Almost a little bit like MCU. Doctor Strange said, "There's one way for this to work out."
Right.
Yeah. So this is the last we see of my man in the Two Towers, and next time we see him, he's in Gondor.
Yep. Let me pull up the chapter here.
Yeah. And speaking of the Big Brother role with Pippin, we see that too. Again, my shipper heart, they all become friends and they're all like family, and then they all go to each other's weddings and they name each other after their kids. Their kids after each other.
Wasn't Pippin? Shoot, I'm trying to remember. They were all buried next to when they finally passed away. They were all buried next to Aragorn, if I recall correctly.
I believe so. Let me double check.
I know Pippin was.
Yeah.
Mary, I'm pretty sure, was as well.
And they had, well, and as I said, they named their kids after Eowyn, and they would all see each other. I mean, gosh darn it.
Right. Let me see here.
That was in the appendix. I don't have
it. Yeah. No, I'm looking for I'm just scrolling through here looking. I'm pretty sure it's the chapter Minas Tirith.
Now, Denethor does say that in famous line that, I wish it was you, not Faramir.
Right.
It's like Daddy of the Year.
Well, it's all the thing we have to remember about Denethor is, and something, again, the movie's just butchered, but the thing that we have to remember is Denethor is like peak stressed out at this point. He has this kind of hopeless war, as he sees it, against Sauron, because the thing about what Sauron was doing was Sauron could not break Denethor's mind, nor could he lie to him. Denethor would have sniffed it out. But what he could do was choose what to show Denethor through the Palantir. And what he was showing him was all these mighty hosts in Mordor of just like hordes of orcs and fell beasts and all sorts of nastiness. And so Denethor, at that point, when he told Faramir, that was like peak stress level, probably. I always want to give that.
But still, there was that aspect of him, and obviously the way the Denethor was treating Faramir, because I really like when he's kind of bitching at him in the book, and he just says that Faramir just says very quietly, what would you have me do? What would you have had me do? It's
like, what do you want me to do here? Like,
and so he is dutiful, and
well, and then Faramir rides out. Or are we jumping a bit too far to?
Or did you want to do with Pippin first, or?
Well, we can do Pippin. I was jumping a bit far to where he gets smote with the dart.
Okay, we can go ahead and do that, because I think that we pretty know that they had that good relationship.
Yeah. Him and Pippin were tight.
They were bros.
But no, he gets I can't remember. Was it? I'm looking here. Siege of Gondor. I believe it was a southern dart. It was a dart of the Haradrim that actually hit him. It wasn't. He didn't get shot up by a bunch of orcs, if I recall. I'm trying to find it here in the Siege of Gondor. Let's see here.
Yeah. Well, either way, my boy was hurt.
He was hurt. Or maybe it's on this page that I opened up. Let me pull it up here. But yeah, he gets hurt, and then Denethor absolutely goes mental, because I think it kind of dawns on him how much he actually kind of screwed up. and simultaneously, like, the stress of the war and everything that Sauron showed him is kind of like broke his mind. And so he just decides, yeah, we're just going to kill ourselves.
Yeah. Well, but his mind also was affected by the Palantir. You can't
Yes.
mess around
Yeah.
with that too long without being messed up.
Right. I mean, and if it's kind of interesting to think about what would have happened if the battle was going well and then Faramir went down. Would that have changed Denethor's uh, reaction in any kind of way? Obviously, I think he still would have kind of had that kind of self-reflection, like, oh my goodness, this is my kid. Like, I've been treating him like crap, and now we have all this, craziness going on, and we're gonna get overrun. If the tide of the if he had known that the tide of battle um had changed. Actually, he might have. I might be talking out my butt here because I'm pretty sure he's told that the Riders of Rohan arrive prior to trying to incinerate himself and his kid. Let me see here.
Well, he kills himself in despair
Yeah.
because he feels like they are doomed, and
Oh yeah, here it is.
sucks to be us.
Um, they have taken the wall. Well, I want to read this real quick.
Sure.
They have taken the wall, men cried. They are blasting breaches in it. They are coming. Where is Faramir? Cried Baragond in dismay. That's another character they should have included in the movies.
Hmm.
Say not that he has fallen. It was Gandalf that brought the first tidings. With a handful of horsemen, he came in the middle morning, riding as escort to a line of wains. They were filled with wounded men, all that could be saved from the wreck of the causeway forts. At once he went to Denethor, the lord of the city, now in a high chamber above the hall of the White Tower, with Pippin at his side. And through dim windows, north and south and east, he bent his dark eyes as if to pierce the shadows of doom that ringed around him. Most to the north he looked, and would pause at whiles to listen, as if by some ancient art his ears might hear the thunder of hooves on the plains far away. Um, Is Faramir come? He asked. No, said Gandalf, but he still lived when I left him. Yet he is resolved to stay with the rear guard, lest the retreat over the Pelennor becomes a rout. He may, perhaps, hold his men together long enough, but I doubt it. He is pitted against a foe too great, for one has come that I feared. And there's an interesting little kind of uh parallel with this. Because this isn't the first time that we in Tolkien's mythos know about um, a heroic stand in the rear guard. There's Her and Thalion, I think, is probably the most legendary example of it. And it's just interesting to notice like how Tolkien kind of tweaks different things. It's the same premise, but he tweaks it.
Hmm.
Um,
It's like
and
poetry; it rhymes.
Yeah, it rhymes. And with Faramir, he's dealing with an enemy way too great for him to handle, but he's still trucking it through. Like I'm not going to let this turn to a rout. I'm holding the rear guard. In
Hmm.
the same case with Her and Thalion, it's just the outcomes were so much different. Um, Obviously the story of the children of Her, and if anybody knows Tolkien, they know that story. They know how it ends.
Hmm.
Um, but with Faramir, it's the quintessential, almost kind of eucatastrophe, as Tolkien would put it. Everything's on the brink of just absolute disaster. He eventually gets wounded. His father tries to incinerate him, but it doesn't happen. And then he eventually ends up in the houses of healing, gets a hot horse babe, and then lives out the rest of his life happily. Um, um, but I think that also speaks to his character of wanting to hold the rear guard, because the rear guard is traditionally the most like dangerous place to be.
Hmm.
And it shows his quality.
Yeah.
Um, on top of all the kindness, though, he's a incredibly brave character.
Hmm.
Um, but I wanted to find the part where he got hit with the dart, because it's gonna bug me now because
Yeah, yeah, we must find it out. Well,
I
and what
can't
I
remember who shot him.
yeah, well, and that yeah, and that's part of, like, what I like about the whole way that his story unfolds, because with him being left behind because of his wounds and the shadow breath or the dark black breath with Eowyn in the houses of healing, this is the only time that we get to see characters dealing with the aftermath of war, the psychology of war, the need to heal and how you're going to move on. And I think it was perfect that he chose Eowyn and Faramir for that. What he was they were experiencing in the House of Healing, I'm sure, were things that he saw many times over in the war. He himself had well, he had to be sent home. I don't know if he was wounded or if he was sick or whatever, but that you can't have a war without healing. And
Yeah.
he gives them that time and that moment through their romance.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh,
Have you found the arrow?
I found it. Okay.
Yes.
Um, talking about the Prince of Dol Amroth. It says, last of all, he came, his men passed in. The mountain knights returned, and at their rear the banner of Dol Amroth and the prince. And in his arms before him on his horse, he bore the body of his kinsman, Faramir, son of Denethor, found upon the stricken field. Faramir, Faramir, men cried, weeping in the streets. But he did not answer, and they bore him away up the winding road to the citadel and his father. Even as the Nazgul had swerved aside from the onset of the White Rider, there came flying a deadly dart, and Faramir, as he held at bay mounted champion of Harad, had fallen to the earth. Only the charge of Dol Amroth had saved him from the red Southland swords that would have hewed him as he lay. So it's not really clear who. That's the reason why I got confused as to whether it was actually
Mhm.
Haradrim that shot him, because he was fighting a champion of Harad when the dart hit him.
Yeah.
Um, which is another thing in Tolkien that is a reoccurring thing. Um, when Feanor is fighting Gothmog and he gets ambushed by Balrogs, it's just the evil entities have
Mhm.
a way of almost cheap shotting, I guess, to use a modern term.
Yeah.
Um, and with Fingon against Gothmog again, it ended up being a Balrog snuck up behind him and uh, threw a whip around him. Um, just these really underhanded kind of like not a fair fight kind of things that uh, subdue the heroes. And we see it again happen with Faramir, where he's in the middle of this battle with a champion of Harad, who God knows what that was like,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden just this dart just out of nowhere just hits him and puts him on the ground, you know. And
Yeah.
and they said he would have been cut apart if it wasn't for the charge of Dol Amroth. So um I don't know. It's interesting just to think back to the Silmarillion. When you and I have gone through this, and when I've done streams with other people, and we just read all this stuff, and it's just like there's so many parallels.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and each time you read them, you find something more and something new to go through it. And well, and it says something that both of them, not only were they fighting, they both fought these incredible dark foes. And
yeah,
the idea that Awen killing the Witch King,
yes.
that's something of legend. That was prophesied. That was like
Now,
supernatural. That would be the equivalent of the feats that Ulysses did.
can we give Mary a great assist on that one though?
Yes.
Let's be
Yeah, he
let's
did the
be
greatest.
honest.
Yes, I know, poor Mary, he never gets the credit, but
He
yes,
never
he
does.
did give the assist.
Thank you, Tom Bombadil, for the daggers of the Barrow Downs, the Barrow daggers.
Yeah, so for
Um,
all you that say that Tom Bombadil did not serve any purpose,
he did. He
we
served a
have this
very
right here.
good purpose.
Yeah, they worked together as the perfect team. Though the Steward and the King focuses on the healing of Eowyn and Faramir the Perfect, Mary was also with them in healing, and Faramir and Mary got to know each other.
Yeah.
Though he also used Mary like, "Hey, tell me about that chick over there. What's her
Yeah.
story?"
Let me find that too, because
Yeah.
I love when he kind of he puts the moves on Eowyn. Let me find it here.
Okay. Hello, Dad Man Walking. Oh, he gives the best moves. You see, that's why women love him. First of all, he's
Yeah.
gentle, but he's honest. He just lays it all out there, and he's like, "Do you want my plain answer?" And she says, "Yeah, actually, I do." It's like, "Then I tell you, Awen of Rohan, you are beautiful," and blah, 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 blah.
Actually, there's something I want to read before
Okay.
then. Um, it's the Houses of Healing.
Oh, when they're
The wheat,
healed by Aragorn?
the wheat is better than I thought. It reminds me of the roses of Imloth Melui when I was a lass, and no king could ask for better. Suddenly Faramir stirred, and he opened his eyes, and he looked on Aragorn, who bent over him, and a light of knowledge and love was kindled in his eyes, and he spoke softly, "My lord, you called me. I come. What does the king command?"
Oh my
Walk.
god!
Walk no more in the shadows, but awake, said Aragorn. You are weary. Rest a while and take food, and be ready when I return. I will, lord, said Faramir, for who would lie idle when the king has returned? Yeah, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well, it's like Faramir just saw Aragorn. It's like, oh, hey, I know who you are.
yeah. Oh, and the return, the return of the king and all that, and just can we have a moment of silence for that's some good weed they have there.
Yeah.
It's like the weed is good, and then Faramir wakes up. It's like, "Hey,
Right.
kids."
Let me hold on. I gotta find not now I gotta because I thought I had it bookmarked.
The
When he
perfect chapter?
meets yeah, when he meets Eowyn.
Yeah.
Which one
The
is it?
white
It's
calls her White Lady of Rohan.
not right of the Rohirrim. Oh, powerful fields. No, not the Pirate Denethor. That's definitely not it. Let's see here.
And and she's like, "But my window doesn't look east." And that's where they're all gone. He goes, "Oh, well, that's something I can remedy." And he gives her a room facing east.
Was it the last debate? No, it couldn't have been the last debate. No, it's not there.
Well, it's the steward and the king where they meet. It's the
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
The,
yeah. You're right. You're right. That I'm being stupid.
it's okay. Hey, you've been working all day. I've
um,
been sitting with my kitty cat all day. Well, all afternoon. She's
here we go. All right, now I'm gonna go ham on this. So,
go for it.
um, um, let's see here. Um, the Lord Faramir was walking alone in the garden of the Houses of Healing, and the sunlight warmed him, and he felt life run new in his veins. But his heart was heavy, and he looked out over the walls eastward. And coming, the warden spoke his name, and he turned and saw the Lady Eowyn of Rohan, and he was moved with pity, for he saw that she was hurt, and his clear sight perceived her sorrow and unrest. My lord, said the warden, here is the Lady Eowyn of Rohan. She rode with the king and was sorely hurt, and dwells now in my keeping. But she is not content, and she wishes to speak to the steward of the city. Do not misunderstand him, lord, said Eowyn. It is not lack of care that grieves me. No houses could be fairer for those who desire to be healed. But I cannot lie in sloth, idle, caged. I looked for death on the battlefield, but I have not died, and battle still goes on. At a sign from Faramir, the warden bowed and departed. What would you have me do, lady? Said Faramir. I also am a prisoner of the healers. He looked at her, and being a man whom pity deeply stirred, it seemed to him that her loveliness amid her grief would pierce his heart. And she looked at him and saw the grave tenderness in his eyes, and yet knew, for she was bred among men of war, that here was one whom no rider of the mark would outmatch in battle. What do you wish? He said again. If it lies in my power, I will do it. I would have you command this warden and bid him let me go, she said. But though her words were still proud, her heart faltered, and for the first time she doubted herself. She guessed that this tall man, both stern and gentle, might think her merely wayward, like a child that has not the firmness of mind to go on with the dull task to the end. I myself am in the warden's keeping, answered Faramir, nor have I yet taken up my authority in the city. But had I done so, I should still listen to his counsel, and should not cross his will in matters of his craft, unless in some great need. But I do not desire healing, she said. I wish to ride to war like my brother Eomer, or better, like Theoden the king, for he died and had both honor and peace. It is too late, lady, to follow the captains, even if you had the strength, said Faramir. But death in battle may come to us all yet, willing or unwilling. You will be better prepared to face it in your own manner, if while there is still time you do as the healer commanded. You and I, we must endure with patience the hours of waiting. She did not answer, but as he looked at her, it seemed to him that something in her softened, as though a bitter frost were yielding at the first faint of presage of spring. Oh, it's
Oh, no, yeah, like I was gonna say, hey, he would melt me. Like I was just gonna say is well, and he was one of the first people that was really able to kind of talk to her properly, if you will,
right.
because Aragorn being also kind of the perfect man, he knew she had the hots for him, and he was not going to lead her on.
Yeah,
And so he was very fatherly toward her, but this was a man that just was meeting her and understanding her on her own level and not being
right.
condescending.
Right, exactly.
Wasn't
It's
mansplaining on her.
well, to follow up, it says a tear sprang in her eye and fell down her cheek like a glistening raindrop. Her proud head drooped a little, then quietly, more as if speaking to herself than to him. But the healers would have me lie abed 7 days yet, she said, and my window does not look eastward. Her voice was now that of a maiden young and sad. Faramir smiled, though his heart was filled with pity. Your window does not look eastward, he said. That can be amended. In this I will command the warden. If you will stay in this house in our care, lady, and take your rest, then you shall walk in the garden in the sun, as you will, and you shall look east, whither all our hopes have gone. And here you will find me, walking and waiting, and also looking east. It would ease my care if you would speak to me, or walk at whiles with me.
Mm. I was gonna say, if I got an invitation like that from Faramir, it's like, well, if you insist, I'll ease your comfort.
Mm. That's good stuff. It's
Yeah, that's the way I always tell men, take notes, but don't be creepy about it. Like if
right,
you're not
right,
getting the right kind of feedback, back off. But obviously she was giving him the right kind of feedback.
right.
So and then that's when he says he goes, "What I don't know what comfort I can give you." And he's like, "Would you have my plain answer?" He said, "I could." And then he just lets it out.
Yep,
And
yep.
just poetry flows out of his mouth. She's like, "Hmm." It takes her a
Well,
while
well,
to thaw.
well. Yeah, she says when he does put the moves on her, she's like, "Alas, not me, my lord." She said, "Shadows lie on me still. Look not to me for healing. I am a shield maiden, and my hand is ungentle."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and he's like, don't care." But also, the healing that she had to do, and him as well, it was also a spiritual healing, not just because of the pain that they'd been through, but having that
Yeah,
almost black curse upon them. I mean, Frodo never got over being stabbed with the Nazgul's knife or
the
whatever.
mortal blade.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's not something that you can just turn on or off. And it was like everything that had happened to her up till then was kind of bubbling to the surface, and they didn't know if they were all gonna die. And I like the way that Faramir says when she's talking about, "Maybe I'll have a death like Theoden," he's like,
yeah,
"That might happen." Don't discount that. However, until it does, let's hang
yeah.
out.
We might all die here. Yeah, let's all hang out. Let's all have fun.
Yeah,
Um,
sort of
and
says, "I'll have to check my calendar, see
and
if I have some free time. OMG, take me now, you mad
right.
prude."
Yep. And let me see here. Yeah, and there this actually takes up a few pages here.
Mhm.
Um, but in the morning, or hold on. Yeah, he puts the moves on her. But in the morning, as Faramir came from the house, he saw her as she stood up upon the wall, and she was clad in all white and gleamed in the sun.
And he called to her, and she came down, and they walked on the grass or sat under the green tree together, now in silence, now in speech. And each day after they did likewise. And the warden looking from his window was glad in heart, for he was a healer, and his care was lightened. And certain it was that, heavy as was the dread and foreboding of those days upon the hearts of men, still these two of his charges prospered and grew daily in strength.
So it was kind of, not only was there like a love growing between them, but their love for each other helped them heal.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it was a very spiritual healing. And the other thing was the black breath.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't believe that was something Faramir was under. I think that was Eowyn only.
No, I think it might have been because that was part of him being healed by Aragorn. He said the same shadow passed over us too.
Yeah,
He
that's
said that,
you're
yes.
you're correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's smooth move Faramir over here.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the girl.
Yeah. Well, and it is perfect. Well, because for starters, he's available. I mean, ladies, I'm sorry if he's taken. You just got to deal with it. You know, he's available. He's well, at the time she didn't know he was going to be a prince, but here she is, the daughter of a king, or sorry, the sister of a king. At this point, it's just so perfect,
Right.
and when they are looking at the darkness, it's like they kind of die together and rise again, because when they're looking out at that moment, you know, when the whole climax is happening, and he's like, it reminds me of Numenor, and she's like, is it coming, the darkness unescapable? And she draws near to him, and he says, no, it's just a shadow and a thought, or a passing thought. And she's like, oh, Eowyn, I do not believe at this moment that this darkness will endure. And they look and they clasp hands as it happens. And
Yep.
you know what's really sad? I have all that memorized. I'm not looking at the book, but it's like I'm doing this completely from memory. And then the song happens because they realize that everything's happy. And then off he goes to take up his duties, as he said, to get ready for the king. And then she starts to realize that she misses him, because I don't maybe know if she quite knew how much she was being comforted by him and wanting to be around him and all of that, and maybe even realizing that she had feelings for him until he was gone. Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder.
That's true.
And they had to have that one moment where they had it out, where they just talked plainly about what she was feeling for Aragorn at this moment. Because when he's like, why aren't you going to your brother? And she's like, well, you know, like, well, it could be two things. And she's like, quit talking in riddles. So he says, all right, because Aragorn's there.
Yep.
And he tells her kind of what she already knew was, you admired him. He was a high and puissant, but you didn't love him. You know, you didn't know him, and your admiration for him is not unlike the way a soldier will admire his captain.
Yeah.
And he says, but I'm here and I love you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he's like, and I love you. And do you not love me? And then she's like, I wanted to be loved by another. That he says that first. And then that's when he explains it to her. And then he says, but even if you were married, even if you were the queen, even if you were the queen of Gondor, I would still love you. So he's like, I'm devoted to you, even if I can't have you.
Right.
And then it says her heart changed, or she understood it. So she came to knowledge, and then she's like, yeah, okay, you know, this is good. I no longer want to be a queen. That's her way of saying she loves him and that she accepts him. He says, that is good, for I am not a king, but let us go together into Ithilien and build a garden, and all things will grow when the White Lady comes. And she says she will be a healer. And then she teases him and says, but won't they say, hey, couldn't he have found a woman of Gondor who's this wild shield maiden? And he goes, I would have them say it. Or she says, would you have them say that? And he goes, I would. And then he grabs her and kisses her.
Yep. I'm looking at that part right now. Yeah.
He pulls a Rhett Butler.
Yep. Then must I leave my own people, man of Gondor, she said, and would you have your proud folks say of you, there goes a lord who tamed a wild shield maiden of the north. Was there no
Yeah,
woman of the race of Numenor to choose?
there we go. Yeah,
And he's just like, yeah, I would.
yeah. I don't care. And then he smooches her. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it's good stuff.
Even though everyone saw him, and that also shows him a little bit almost out of character, because he seems to be kind of a proper guy that maybe when you've been through all that they've been through, you don't care. It's like, I got what I want. I've won the woman. And I
Right.
always imagined, this would make a great fan fiction, by the way, someone write it, where
Uh-oh.
he's like, oh no, everyone saw me kissing her, so I better maybe write to Aemir or something and make sure it's
Yeah,
like, no, I want to marry her, okay? I don't just go kissing princesses. It's all honorable. It's all above board.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, I doubt Aomer minded at all.
No,
I mean,
he was like,
he's the
thank
steward.
goodness.
Well,
She's gonna get married and just be a housewife, and
you got her out. She's gonna be an Ithilien now, far away. Shoo, wild woman.
yeah. And I always imagine Aragorn was also like, oh, thank goodness. Good. Okay, I don't have to feel guilty or feel awkward around her anymore. They have a really nice little moment actually after the funeral of Theoden, where she's like, wish me happiness, my lord. And he's like, that's what I've always wished for you, and it makes me very happy to see you now in bliss.
The well, and the other thing too is that that union of Faramir and Eowyn also strengthens the it kind of strengthens the bond between Gondor and Rohan.
Yes.
Yeah, it pretty much permanently joins those two factions, so to speak. But unlike what you'd see in a lot of history, where it's like people are like, here, you can have my daughter, and we'll arrange this marriage and everything like that. It's actually a genuine like love they have for each other, and I think the same as kind of like the same kind of concept can be said for both Gondor and Rohan, how they feel towards each other as cultures. But yeah, let me find that here.
Yeah.
The kind of
and then of course there was another bond between them when Aemor marries Faramir's cousin. So it all worked out very nicely and perfectly.
Right. It's that. Let me see here. Faramir met with Aragorn in the midst of those there assembled, and he knelt and said, "The last steward of Gondor begs leave to surrender his office." And he held out a white rod, but Aragorn took the rod and gave it back, saying, "That office is not ended, and it shall be thine and thy heirs as long as my line shall last. Do now thy office." Then Faramir stood up and spoke in a clear voice, "Men of Gondor, hear now the steward of this realm. Behold, one has come to claim the kingship again at last. Here is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, chieftain of the Dunedain of Arnor, captain of the host of the west, bearer of the star of the north, wielder of the sword reforged, victorious in battle, whose hands bring healing, the Elfstone, Elisar of the line of Valandil, Isildur's son, Elendil's son of Numenor. Shall he be king and enter into the city and dwell there?" And all the host and all the people cried yea with one voice.
That's so cool.
Right.
Yeah, that he's the one who proclaims him the king, and that he keeps the office, and it's almost like democracy.
Yeah, pretty much Faramir's kind of goaded here because he follows up. He says, "Men of Gondor, the lore masters tell that I'm tired. Men of Gondor, the lore masters tell that it was the custom of old that the king should receive the crown from his father ere he died, or if that might not be, that he should go alone and take it from the hands of his father in the tomb where he was laid. But since things must now be done otherwise, using the authority of the steward, I have today brought hither from Rath-Dinin the crown of Eärnur, the last king, whose days passed in the time of our long fathers of old." So pretty much Faramir's now taken it upon his own authority to just kind of like get everything kind of going. like
Yeah.
I have to be the fulcrum to get all this, worked out here. And you're right. He's pretty much the one who kind of just oversees everything and makes sure everything goes smoothly.
Yeah. Because he's perfect that way. And it
Right.
is important because one did always wonder, is everyone just gonna say, this dude, this ranger now says he's our king? It's like, no, that there were rituals and
Yeah.
aspects of it, and the fact that the last steward is the one doing it, that maybe could have stopped perhaps people from saying, well, maybe we want a steward, maybe we don't want a king. It's like, no, but the steward's like, hey, boom, here he is.
Right.
Screw you all,
Oh,
he's the king.
I found the part about Baragon with Aragorn.
Yay!
And the king said to Baragon, Baragon, by your sword blood was spilled in the hollows, where that is forbidden. Also, you left your post without leave or of lord or of captain. For these things of old, death was the penalty. Now, therefore, I must pronounce your doom. All penalty is remitted for your valor in battle, and still more because you did all that you did was for the love of the Lord Faramir. Nonetheless, you must leave the guard of the citadel, and you must go forth from the city of Minas Tirith. Then the blood left Baragon's face, and he was stricken to heart and bowed his head. But the king said, so it must be, for you are appointed to the White Company, the guard of Faramir, Prince of Ithilien, and you shall be its captain, and dwell with Emin Arnon in honor and peace, and in service of him for whom you risked all, to save him from death.
And everyone goes, yay! Yeah, because I thought he had left his post. Yes, because his daddy was trying to turn him into a human torch.
Right.
So
Yep. And yeah, there were, if I recall, there were two guards who were keeping Baragon out while Denethor was going nuts, and Denethor killed him, or Baragon killed them both.
yeah, and see, that
And
shows how wise Aragorn is, because he could have done the sentence and maybe people would have accepted it, but actually that might not have been very prudent. But still, it's a way that you can let someone have the consequences for their actions, but understand the mitigating circumstances.
right. And let me see here. Let's see here. Oh, my cat's meowing.
Oh, okay. Mine's
Hey,
asleep.
what
Mine's
you
sleeping on the computer. She's liking how warm it is.
what you yelling at, buddy?
Is it dinner time?
No, it's not even close. he's
Oh,
just
okay. Well, maybe
he's
it's
he's
a
just
hope.
he's just walking around the kitchen meowing. Oh, here he comes. What's up?
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted
Yeah.
meat on the couch. Hey,
Yeah, the
stop
next
that.
stream we do together will be the cat stream. So there,
Yeah,
there, there you have it, people.
let's do cats. Yes. Um, let's see here. And then Baragon, perceiving the mercy and justice of the king, was glad, and kneeling kissed his hand, and departed in joy and in content. And Aragorn gave to Faramir Ithilien to be his princedom, and bade him dwell in the hills of Emin Arnon within sight of the city.
Hmm.
For, he said, Minas Ithil and Morgul Vale shall be utterly destroyed, and though it may in time to come be made clean, no man may dwell there for many long years. Ah, okay. So it's like until we clean out this evil nonsense, you gotta stay within sight of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And I have a video where I describe the letter where J.R. Tolkien talks about what Faramir was doing and some of his duties that he and Aragorn kind of did and shared together to clear out the orcs and all that good stuff. And the appendices tell us, well, first of all, that they do have a son. Faramir and Eowyn have a son, as well as the relationship they had where Pippin would come and visit and serve, and where they were buried. And Sword of Poopas did look it up. Yeah, that Merry and Pippin will be buried in the Hallows there in Minas Tirith.
yeah,
So we get a little more of their happening. Though the last time we see them is at their engagement at the funeral of King Theoden, or right after the funeral,
yeah.
rather. And he sticks around to hang around with Eowyn while the rest of them go on to, the west, and the
The West. Yeah.
hobbits go back home, and Galadriel and all them head out. It's all very sad.
sad but happy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, man, this is like, no, I want you guys just to like hang out forever, like,
Mhm.
but it's like, oh man, but happy ending for all.
Exactly. When I like it when you go into the appendix and you realize, okay, it wasn't forever. They're saying
Yeah,
goodbye. It was only Frodo. But Frodo wasn't really a part of all of that. He felt partly because of what he went through, he really couldn't be anchored in this world anymore. And it was really only Sam that because only he and Sam could understand what they had been through together.
yeah, I agree with bittersweet is what
Yeah.
um Snortopupus would uh would call it. Yeah, and I agree.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
So
damn.
much.
I forgot. I had forgotten how like great Faramir was, if I'm being honest, which is why this stream is kind of a blessing because it's like, oh yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's more than that he's the hottest man who ever lived and the most perfect husband. There's
yeah,
more to it, you see? That's
there's
why I wanted to do this.
yeah,
It's so rich.
it is, and could you? Oh man, you know, us going through this, and now I'm just like, it's almost a what could have been for me.
Mm.
Like, could you imagine? Who was I forget the gentleman's name who played Faramir in the films?
David
Um,
Wenham.
David Wenham, great actor.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
could you imagine if like they had written him right?
Oh,
That would have been so
oh.
good.
Well, I mean, we got glimpses of
Little
it in the
glimpses.
movie, and because he's a classically trained actor, he
Yeah.
could have pulled it off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh,
Like
yes,
like I'm thinking
all of
about
it and more.
I'm thinking about like well, it's almost like, okay, what's in Jackson's vault? Okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was left on the cutting room floor that
Mhm.
that Jackson still has, that's just all it needs is editing and you can put it into a film. And I'm almost thinking to myself, it's like, what else was like Faramir Eowyn? That's the big one for me because they kind of hinted at it when they had that little bit in the. I believe it's actually in the extended cut. It might be in the theatrical,
Yeah.
but
Oh, no, it was in the extended cut because I was bitter
yep,
beyond all comprehension. But you see, that's a good example of where they got it, and I actually didn't mind the way it was done in the extended cut. I just wish they'd put it in the theatrical cut because I think they kind of said all that they really needed to say just by her being the white lady in the window. And when he first looks at her, and then later when he says that line, I do not believe this darkness will
darkness
endure.
will
You see,
endure.
that's one of those moments where I'm like, that's the Faramir I
That's
know.
yep. There he is. That's it. He's not worried about his quality and making daddy happy. It's
Mhm.
that's the dude. Now let's just expand that scene and just put what's in the book on film, please.
Precisely. Now they did film the wedding, and we have a picture of her in her wedding dress with him in their wedding clothes.
Yep.
And they even joke about that when they go to conventions. They're always like, "We want to see the wedding too."
Yep.
Everyone wants to see the wedding. Come on,
Jackson,
Peter Jackson. I'd pay money to see the wedding.
it must be something with like I don't know, something with Warner Brothers or something because it makes absolutely no sense why we got a 4.5 hour long crap fest that was the Snyder cut, but we can't get the Jackson cut of Lord of the Rings where we get the Faramir Eowyn wedding or the one that I'm actually really interested to see on that if it ever comes out is the dialogue between Arwen and Galadriel.
Mm.
That's something that I'm very curious as to what they did with that because there you could do something really really interesting with that, like how kind of explore their characters more, and Galadriel being um Arwen's grandmother,
Mhm.
could impart a lot of wisdom there, in terms of everything that's going on. But yeah, we have a whole wedding that we missed out on. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, that wedding dress, that's gonna be my wedding dress one day. That's all I gotta say. It's a gorgeous wedding dress, by the way, but she doesn't have a veil. I would put on a veil, but I digress. But,
Right.
um, all of what you said and definitely more about it. I mean, Oh, I just love this character so much because I think it also balances out that we needed to have a human besides Boromir
Yeah,
being the hero because we remember Boromir because of how he fell, and Aragorn, well, he's a king, he's all this other stuff, but someone that is just kind of down to earth, and I
right.
don't know, just does a really
And
good job.
and the thing of it is too, Faramir. I'm thinking you could say this about a lot of characters in Lord of the Rings, but when it comes to there's a certain something, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but he's a lot more like if we were talking about Middle Earth as like a history, he's a lot more like the men of old.
Hmm.
A lot your tour of gondolins, your Eärendil the mariner. There's a lot of those aspects of those characters, even Baron,
Hmm.
that come through in Faramir. um I
Yeah, the
think
great lover.
the great lover, and care, but also at the same time can rise to the challenge of being a warrior if he needs to be.
Hmm.
um I honestly, it, Tour of Gondolin would probably be the one I'd compare him to the most. Um, but there's like I said, I can't quite put my finger on exactly how I would, if I was to write like a thesis on it, how I would explain it. But yeah, there's a big part of this character that just kind of reminds me of all those old heroes from the first age of Middle Earth.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and he is a man of Numenor. Sometimes we forget that.
yeah,
So he did live longer, not as long as Aragorn, but he did live long. And to go back a little bit of what you said, I would like to have that scene with Arwen and Gladriel because that quite possibly could have been one of the most true to the book's dialogue with Arwen in the entire trilogy, because I
oh yeah,
always felt like that they cut out some of her moments. They cut out a really good moment, or they didn't put into the movies the parts where she's speaking with Frodo after,
mm,
she got married, and that's when she gives him the jewel
yeah,
and says, "I'm not gonna be going over the west, but you can go." Um, that was
yeah.
a very sweet moment as well. Um,
Damn it, Jackson, just release it. Okay,
yeah, just release the cut. Yeah, I want to.
we'll start a petition.
Yeah, I want to address what sort of poop is not sort of poop is rather Dead Man Walking. He was asking a little bit about the Silmarillion. If you want
Yeah,
to see some of that Second Age stuff with Sauron and the Rings of Power, the real Rings of Power, you need
yes,
to look at the Akelabeth in the Silmarillion. It's like you'll get the book called the Silmarillion, and there is a part at the end. It's kind of separate. It's like 3 separate books within it. The Silmarillion proper is the first age that ends, and then they have what's called the Akelabeth. That's where you can get basically it's more like a summary of what happens.
yeah,
He didn't write it out like dialogue like a novel. The Silmarillion is more like myth. It's written like maybe something like the Odyssey or even the Old Testament of the Bible. It's not written in novel form.
right.
But yeah.
And if you want it in, was it the Andunaic, the language of Numenor? Um, I can't, I have it here. It's one of the volumes of History of Middle Earth. I want to say it's Sauron. Yeah, it has to be volume 9, Sauron Defeated. Um, it's that story for Akelabeth from the Silmarillion, but all the names are the Andunaic names.
Mhm.
So instead of Tarmiriel, it's Arzimrafel. Instead of Sauron, I can't remember what Sauron's Andunaic name is, but it translates to wizard. Um,
Yeah,
but
he's got
it's
about 200 names.
yeah,
Yeah, and he was known as Anatar for a while because he appeared as an elf-like angel of light, very much like Lucifer, if you will, and enticed the Numenorians. And
the the Lord of Gifts.
yeah,
Yeah, and we can go on a whole tangent about Sauron and how he is in.
butchered.
Well, he's just an evil bastard.
Oh, that too, that too. Well, I told
Like,
you I finally properly been watching the Rings of Power, and just really watching it
I'm so sorry.
It is, it's very painful. Objectively speaking, it's just bad
Yeah.
TV, but the character of Sauron is the only likable character in the entire show, if that
And it
tells you how off they are in their messaging. It's
it
like
isn't it
Satan is the only one I like in
yeah,
this.
isn't it wild how they managed to screw that up?
I
Like,
mean,
we're
he's
talking
the
about
best looking, he has the most charm, he's making the most sense, he's actually sitting there. It's like, "What's wrong
and
with you
and
people? You're
and
not
at
listening. I'm
and at
telling
one
you who and what I am."
and they literally made Galadriel the reason why he turned evil again.
Oh
Because
gosh, that's just
because
ridiculous.
in the show, he just wants to chill and do smithing and just be left alone. And she's the one who drags him out to Middle Earth. It's so horribly bad. The
Yeah,
entire
it's like
time I'm
that's
watching.
what I said, he's sympathetic. You're like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Gosh, it's this nagging woman won't leave him alone," or elf.
and
"Who will
and it
rid me of
and
this meddling elf?"
and it's old news that I have wars on a consistent basis with people that stand the rings of power. But it's really kind of mask off moment for them in terms of how much they know about the books. When I point out the fact that talking about Sauron, it's like, guys, this dude fed people to werewolves. He used to take his captives. I read about this a while back. He used to take his captives in Mordor, and because he wanted to keep Shelob guarding the pass of Cirith Ungol, he would send his cat people that he had captured for her to feed on. And he considered Shelob his pet. And it's like, yeah, let's make that guy the sympathetic character in our
Yeah.
story. It's like,
Well,
good
and I don't
grief.
even know if they meant to have him be sympathetic. I mean, I obviously I think that they really just didn't know what they were doing, and
Yeah,
it was, like, by accident.
just sheer
Be
incompetence that they let that happen. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kinda like what the Bible says, "If your eye is not sound, how dark will the darkness be?" Or
yeah,
something to that effect.
it's very true. And oh, since you've been okay, okay. So did you get all the way through the show? If you did, I'm sorry, but
I'm not completely done. I just can frankly only watch it when I'm on the treadmill. I put
oh,
the
okay,
thing on
fair
and
enough.
because I can't stand to listen to them. And I know a lot of these actors, they're good actors. It's just no
They're good.
actor could make that kind of garbage sound good.
Did you get to the volcanic eruption yet?
No, I have not.
I can't. You and I need to do a stream just about that.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe we will as we get closer to it. But I want to say a little bit of a cautionary tale, though. As you
Yeah.
said that you've caught some people not reading the books that attack it. I've
Hmm.
been seeing some people out there that are defending Tolkien. I'm not sure they've read the books either because
Yeah.
they'll start going into the movies. It's like, listen, friends, if you
Yeah.
want to defend Tolkien, you gotta get into Tolkien.
Yeah.
The movies don't do it, and I think it can possibly hurt some credibility out there because it's like, yeah, know what you're defending, friends, because it is defensible. But if you are only going off of the Peter Jackson movies, we talked at the beginning of the stream about the weaknesses of the Peter Jackson movies, is that while they are very enjoyable and they are, I think, good adaptations, if you will, from a certain point of view of the Lord of the Rings, it's not even close. Like, look at what we just
No.
did with Faramir. And
Yeah.
so it's like, if you want to defend Tolkien against this garbage in season 2, start reading right now. This is what your Aunt Teresa is telling you. I am pointing the finger of judgment. You got to use the books to defend. You cannot use the movies
No.
because the
Now
movies are on sand.
I have no issue with people defending the films
Mhm,
when people do the classic tear something down to prop something else up.
mhm.
There are people within the Rings of Power fan base that will try and tear down the films to try and prop up Rings of Power. I have
Yes.
absolutely zero problem with people defending the, for lack of a better term, sanctity of the
Mhm,
Jackson films when people do that. But you're right. You cannot use parts of any aspect of the Jackson films when you're comparing the books to Rings of Power.
correct.
You just can't. That there are certain things that the one thing that you can do, I think, is simply say Jackson did more service to the lore than Rings of Power did.
Yes.
In terms of trying to keep a lot of things accurate that he could have. Yes, like you and I were talking about before, there were a lot of unnecessary changes in the movies. But there's also a lot of things that Jackson got right. Whereas you look at Rings of Power and they got absolutely nothing right.
Nothing right. Yeah.
Nothing. So, I mean, if you can use that argument, but yeah, no. When defending the sanctity of the books, do not use the movies. I 110% endorse what Miss Martin Muses is saying right now.
Yeah.
It's you just can't do that. And if you don't know, ask. Feel free to ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say ask.
Yeah, ask. Just be like, hey, I might be misremembering, or maybe I'm not too sure, blah, blah. Did this happen? Did that happen? Blah, blah. Myself, this fair lady here, anybody who's knowledgeable about Tolkien will be more than happy to answer your questions. But just beware of Rings of Power fans, okay? They like to take a lot of things off of sites like Tolkien Gateway. And there's a few people that liked Rings of Power that follow me who ask me questions about the books.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually genuinely good people. So I don't want to kind of like throw everybody into like a generalized bubble. But there will be people out there who stand for this show who will take a portion of something that Tolkien wrote and extrapolate something that is completely false, a completely false narrative about it.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to keep an eye out for those people. But yeah, feel free to ask if you don't know. Don't just make something up or assume that something in the Jackson films is accurate to the books, because chances are you're going to just make yourself look like an idiot.
Yeah, and then they'll quote tweet and you'll say, "See, look, the defenders of Tolkien don't even know what they're talking about." Yeah,
exactly.
And to use an example, not to pat ourselves on our backs too much, but this happened several times in this stream. Even so, we can't remember everything, and so you've heard Feanor and you've heard me say, I don't remember. Let me look that up. Or it's like, oh crap, I got that wrong. Admit it when you're wrong, because we're not God.
Exactly.
You can't remember everything. Or for crying out loud, I have a sick cat. Sick family members. I have a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes my brain just doesn't work, and there's nothing wrong with admitting, oops, I messed up.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, there's a reason why, if somebody asks me a question or if I'm being challenged on something, I'll be like, hey, let me double check, because I keep PDFs of all the books on my phone as well, just so that I have reference on the go. And so I'll go to the PDF and I'll read through, and if I'm right, I'm right. I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's okay to be wrong about something. But the best way to avoid being wrong about something is to do your due diligence and make sure you research the topic before you say anything. Because you're right. I've been seeing that a lot lately too. And it's like, guys, we get it. You love the movies, but you guys are kind of speaking out of pocket here.
It's just not helping. That's my opinion. Now, that being said, caveat, you can say whatever you want whenever you want on the internet. I'm okay with that. As far as you can do that. I'm just saying, if this is your goal, then you need with anything. I felt this way about even people and even writers I don't like. You have to be honest about them, and you have to be honest about the literature, because maybe it's academic honesty that I was trained with, but you just need to. And I think, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I was guilty of it a little bit too, especially when the Rings of Power was coming out, maybe praising Jackson a little too highly. It was just, I think it was a visceral reaction of, because at least he didn't attack us. He didn't call us names and racist and evil and all that kind of stuff. So, and I even had to step back. It's like, well, wait a second. What am I doing here? It's like, the movies are the movies, the books are the books. And that while I will admire Tolkien, I will admire the movies, I'm going to see them once again when they are being re-released. But as you said, so I'm glad I'm not alone that I've kind of seen that.
And the thing I always tell people, and it's like, one of the better arguments you can use is, because Rings of Power fans will bring up all the time. Well, Jackson took liberties with the lore. They are correct. He did. But the thing that you can always tell them is that the major, major difference between the films and that terrible TV show is the fact that the films are well written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you were to replace all of the names in the movies and replace the name of the movie, call it just whatever the hell you want to call it, they're still great movies. They can stand on their own, whereas Rings of Power cannot because it is so poorly written. Okay. You don't even need to bring up the lore. You don't even have to bring it up at all. You can bring up just the basic points of filmmaking and writing and cinematography and choreography and a whole myriad of other different subjects that encompass that entire that art, and point out why Rings of Power is so bad. You don't even need to dig deep in the lore at all. That's just the cherry on top, is the fact that they got the lore so wrong.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yes, Dadman Walking. Shame on you. Yes, he got Stonewall Jackson's age wrong on our
Really?
stream. Yes, you
Uh-oh.
see, and he admitted he was wrong, and he looked it up, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah, oops, he was 39, he wasn't 27." So yes, exactly. I mean, it happens, and Dead Man Walking knows so much about the Civil War. Sometimes, especially when you're live, you might mess up, and the world doesn't
Right.
end. And by admitting it, the world doesn't end.
Right. Like what was that I got wrong a while back? I was talking about I think it was like elf aging.
Mm-hmm.
And like how elves age compared to men in the books and everything like that. And it was just I got a couple of points in time wrong, and so I had to correct myself. But like that's just one example.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, we're not perfect. Mistakes are bound to happen, but so long as you do your due diligence to either admit and make a correction, or at least do your research and put forward a correct summary of your thoughts, based on factual information, then you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But
Now,
yeah,
that being said, you engage with the Rings of Power stands. I do not engage because hey, if you want to, that's great. I don't, because I just can't stand it. I just
it's
can't stand it because they don't want to be convinced of anything.
no,
And sometimes I think they're rage baiting. Like, there was someone today, and I got tricked by it. I was like, this has got to be rage bait. Someone just said basically Tolkien wasn't a good writer. Tolkien was dumb. Look at his whole stories just about despair and people sucking and stuff.
yeah,
And then everyone got mad. And then I thought, oh my gosh, that was rage bait,
yeah,
because it is like everyone. I mean, there's a lot. If you want to criticize Tolkien, because no one's above criticism, and he himself would even say so, but that was so asinine and out there. It's like, okay, this person, and the person they got like almost nearly 1 million views, I think, and I'm like, okay, great, I fell for it.
right. Yeah, and if I'm being honest, I bid on that one too. I think I actually quote tweeted that one. I was like,
Oh, loads of people did.
yeah, like everybody bid on it hook, line, and sinker, and it was like, yeah, but yourself, and also it was European lore Seb, who was like, I said quote tweeted, it was the first time I saw it, he's like, yeah, this is bait. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so we all fall for it, even though I'm on the lookout for bait, and I even fell for it. Yeah. So it's
Right.
a thing, and I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see a lot of bait from people that maybe have reasons to want to promote the Rings of Power, such as, like, well, they'll say, this is how the Rings of Power improves Tom Bombadil, that kind
Oh
of stuff.
Lord.
That's rage bait, and it's coming.
Oh
It's
yeah.
coming. They've already
Well,
said that about Sauron and Galadriel. It's like, oh, this scene from Rings of Power makes Galadriel so much more of a deeper character.
that's
Now I can appreciate what she did in Fellowship of the Ring.
that season 2, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's eventually.
Since it's a streaming thing, they play games with
Well,
that.
Well, here's what we do know, and this was a leak from an insider in Amazon, which was confirmed. And it came out in the Hollywood Reporter and eventually got to Forbes, and it made the rounds. But out of all of the people that viewed the first episode of Rings of Power, domestically, only 37% of those people watched the entire rest of the season, and only 45% internationally. So their viewers that they had for the first episode dropped off dramatically by the end. Like, people
Okay.
were just not interested at all. Do we have official viewer figures and numbers? No, but we do know the percentages.
Yeah.
And so according to Amazon, they boasted, I think it was 20 million viewers for the first episode, which I could believe.
I think everyone
Um,
wanted to tune in and see what it was because it
yeah,
was a new Lord of the quote unquote new Lord of the Rings.
exactly. And you had people that hate watch. There were people who were optimistic. There were people who were pessimistic but curious. And so you had that group of people that watched that first episode, and then just almost 70% of the people said, "The hell with it. Like, this already looks like terrible trash. Let's just." But I think of the real straw that broke the camel's back. I can't wait for you to see it. Is the volcano episode. Oh
Oh,
my
oh, yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Well, I've heard
Oh,
about it. I mean, well, I mean,
oh,
I've seen a
oh,
lot of the scenes, yeah. But
oh man.
and I think it says something that I call him Benjen, the guy who plays Ada or whatever, that
Yeah.
actor, how
Yeah, yeah.
he jumped ship after
Yeah, he
first
left.
season, and from what people have said, that he's one of the better actors on
Yeah.
the show, or the better performances, and perhaps if you forgot it was Lord of the Rings, kind of an intriguing character, and
Yep.
even he was like, "I'm out of here." I would also say you can subjectively tell how badly it's doing because there is no hype, no social media presence. I mean,
Nothing.
compare it with like the House of the Dragon.
Oh
The
yeah.
the hype that's been for that, even when it was on hiatus, even before the trailers are coming out, they were always putting out stuff on their Twitter, and then every time a new promo picture, they release promo pictures. And they've
Yep.
been doing this for a very long time leading up to the second season. We haven't seen a thing from the official Rings of Power.
Yeah. It's been nothing but crickets from all their social media. And Amazon Studios put out, it was in December, they put out a kind of like here's what's coming in 2024, like kind of like slot,
Mhm.
just announcement of different shows. And they had all these shows, and not a single one of them was Rings of Power, in
Yeah,
spite of the fact of it having a bigger budget than all of their other shows. They
yeah,
didn't show anything about Rings of Power on their 2024 lineup. It's like, guys, like, your marketing team must be terrified right now,
yeah.
because here's my honest opinion. Okay. House of the Dragon finished filming after Rings of Power did. Well, after, it was like 5 months after. And because Rings of Power finished in April of last year, and before the strike, and House of the Dragon finished in, I want to say, September. House of the Dragon already has a couple trailers out, like you were saying, hype on their social media, everything like that. And Rings of Power doesn't have anything out at all. And my theory is this, is that they finished filming. Their finished product was brought before the pretty much the board of executives at Amazon, whoever's above Jennifer Salk's head. And they said, "Oh no, we got to change all this," because I think did you see the leaks that came out?
Yeah, I think that those
Yeah.
leaks were genuine,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Let's get this out in the open here on the airwaves here of the YouTubes. Those leaks were real. I freaking promise that they were real. And I bet Amazon saw the backlash to those leaks, coupled with the fact that their executives probably saw the finished product and said, "We cannot let this go out there."
Mhm.
And they probably started doing extensive reshoots, because could you imagine, just for a moment, they just released the finished, they announced and start doing trailers, everything like that, and we get Tom Bombadil is actually Morgoth,
Yeah.
Harry is
Or
Ungoliant.
the
Could
son of
you imagine the absolute, like the Tolkien fandom would go nuclear.
Yeah, well, not only would we go nuclear, they would probably worse, they would be mocked to
Oh yeah.
hell and back.
Oh, they'd be laughed out of television if they did
Mhm.
that. Like, it would be. So I promise everybody. And the thing that we're gonna know is that the way we're gonna know this is, I guarantee this is gonna happen. There's gonna be parts in season 2 where you can legitimately tell where they cut
Mhm.
those leaks out. You're going to be able to see it, and it's going to be so unbelievably like just blatant,
Well,
because
that's
they have a scheduled release date of late 2024, so they have to get it done quick. And so it's going to be a rush. It's going to be sloppy, and you're going to tell. It's going to be like, oh, hey, this is probably where they announced that Goldberry is Ungoliant, or
yeah, oh
here's where
god.
they said Sauron had a kid, or this, that, and the other. And it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be so bad, and I am so looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it serves them right,
Yeah,
because, well, first of all, they started to attack us before even the first trailer came out,
yeah,
and I remember it was, who was it? I think it was Jonathan from the OneRing.com, because he tweeted at me. I was like, "Why are they doing this?" And he says, "I think they're trying to get ahead of something." It's
yeah,
like, because they want to start attacking the fans because they know the criticism's going to come and they think it's going to work, but it's been tried too much. I think with the Star Wars people, that they've done it enough that we all now know it. It's like, okay, here comes the accusations against the fans, so that if when we start to criticize it, then they'll say that. And it was just very odd. And then the whole, it's evil. I mean, evil's a really strong word. And when
right.
they were talking about people criticizing this show are evil, and I'm
Well,
like,
here's
that's
here's
kind of talk you leave for church, not a TV show.
yeah.
They haven't been kind.
No, they haven't.
And
You're right.
I think that even if this new Return of Gollum or whatever the heck it's going to be called, I would be incredibly surprised if Peter Jackson and Philippa Boyens and even Andy Serkis will get nasty the way the creators of the Rings of Power have, and the
Yeah,
actors that I can't see them allowing that to happen.
I
So
don't see
that's
them ever
where,
doing that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's where I will, even if I don't like it, and I'm sure I won't, I don't even know if I'll watch it, but I that's why I don't think I'll get too upset
Right.
with Jackson, or even what they do with the TV show. Because now if they do start to do that, well, then they really will have ruined their legacy.
Right. Well, I was just thinking, you jogged my memory, because the director for Rings of Power came out recently in an interview and said, and this is going back to what you said about how people should, if they're not knowledgeable about the books, either do the research or just don't try not to comment on it too much. Don't
Mhm.
try and use Jackson's films. And she came out in an interview about a month ago and said that the problem with I'm paraphrasing, but it was essentially the problem with the backlash was that um, too many people were confusing Jackson's films with Tolkien's work. And it's like, well, first of all, your criticism, Miss, I can't remember, Charlotte Branston,
Mhm.
that's her name. Your criticism is wrong, because myself and Miss Martin Muses and plenty of other people have articulated very well
Mhm.
why Rings of Power is bad when it comes to lore. But the more people you have coming out and using Jackson's films as kind of the barometer, or not the barometer, but the oh, I can't think of the word right now, but using Jackson's films as a means to trounce on Rings of Power, they're
Mhm.
actually they're giving credence to her argument um,
Correct. Yeah,
about
and
that.
it's, yes, that's exactly what it is. And it gives her the opportunity to be like, "You see, they don't even do it." And even though they know that there are people that are using the book and using scholarship,
Yeah.
it just gives them the means to do so.
Well,
No.
it's like when it's like when they came out and said, "Oh, it's just the hatred is from racism," and they picked out 5 idiots from like Twitter who said some edgy things, and that was it. And it's like, well, if they can use even that small little sample number to paint with a broad brush an entire fan base, they'll do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And even though I, guilty as charged, did a little bit of that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings hashtag, I now see that that probably was not the best way to go about it,
Yeah.
because it was the I did it a few times, and then I was like, kind of like what you were saying. Um, but I just also enjoy the fact that people are far more interested in House of the Dragon right now than
Yeah,
anything with
yeah.
and it shouldn't be. It should not be. And
No. How is
Outlander, I mean, for
how
crying out loud, we got Outlander, you know?
how is a not even a creation by George R. R. Martin. Oh, I mean it is in a sense. I mean it's based off of his work, but it's not something that he actually wrote into a book.
Well,
Like
actually, yes, he did.
it is it? I
Yes,
thought
It's from Fire and Blood.
oh Fire and Blood. You're right. You're right. I stand corrected. I'm having a tism because I keep thinking of a Song of Ice and Fire and he still hasn't like
Yeah.
he
Oh,
hasn't
yeah, we
finished
will
that
forever
whole
hate
deal.
him for that.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, no, Fire and Blood it's pretty faithful to it.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it is something that he wrote, and it's something that we know has an ending. And so that's why I think it's kind of funny when sometimes they're all like, "Oh, how's it gonna end?" I'm like, pick up the book, it'll take you
Yep.
3 seconds. But I'm
And
I'm nice. I always label all my videos spoilers just in
and
case.
and if I recall correctly, I'll have to double check. But if I recall correctly, the showrunners for House of the Dragon were originally supposed to be the showrunners for Rings of Power, and I believe also a Conan show on Amazon. And Jennifer Salke didn't like their work, and they were released over creative differences. And so
Interesting.
HBO took them in, and boom, here we have House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I will I'll need to look that up. If
Yeah,
I'm not saying I doubt you, but I want to double check that. If that is true, that'll be
yeah,
beautiful. That'll be Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
It'll
It
be great.
well, I believe I'll have to go in the Wayback Machine, but I'm pretty sure I know Nerderotic did a video about it,
Oh
or
yeah,
he
yeah,
at least mentioned it in several videos.
he's done a lot of good work with that. Um, oh wait, we're losing Dad Man Walking. Thank you for everything. Thank you for Teresa for your channel. I always feel smarter when here. Oh well, thank you. Yeah, and but don't get me wrong. If season 2 of House of the Dragon sucks, I'll rake that through the coals too,
Oh yeah,
because there were some parts of House of the Dragon that I thought were silly, that weren't very good, and it was all the stuff that wasn't in the book. They decided to go with some spectacle with some dragon stuff, but
yeah,
it is interesting, and I'm actually very glad that Conan got away from Amazon because I don't want Amazon to touch Conan. Right now, we have some amazing comics with Conan the Barbarian
that's what
that
I've
has
seen.
come
Yeah,
out. Oh, it is so good. And the Savage Sword of Conan, and they're coming out with new books, new Solomon Kane stories. So it's like that's where you can enjoy Conan right now. I don't want any studio to touch him.
yeah. Well, and here's the thing too is I've seen a lot of chatter from Rings of Power Twitter talking about how after this recent announcement of Return of the Golem Strikes
Yeah.
Back.
Oh, I love
Um,
that one.
the I mean they're gonna do a whole Gollum anthology, but I just know it. But the chatter going around there is they're like people are gonna double back on, or they're gonna backtrack on their criticism of Rings of Power at once this releases. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, guys, do you have any idea? I'm just thinking to myself, it's like, first of all, nobody has any like major hype about this Gollum movie that's coming. Okay. There might be a few here and there, but like the general consensus among Tolkien fans is like a giant meh. Like, okay, like I hope it's good, but I'm not holding my breath. Secondly, do do, do y'all have any idea, in case any of you guys come to this stream and listen to us talk about the wonderful Faramir, do any of you guys have any idea how bad this movie would have to be in order for us to backtrack on Rings of Power? Like, my God, that would
Yeah.
that movie would have to be truly abysmal for that to happen. And
Well, and again, it's easier to separate from the Rings of Power because we know it's not Tolkien. Like I was
yeah,
afraid to watch it
exactly.
properly for a while because I was afraid it was going to affect the way I viewed the original characters. But when I watched it, I was
You
like,
can you
"This
can
is
totally
so different."
yeah,
It wasn't even
you
close.
you can totally divorce it. You can
Yes.
totally divorce it from the lore. You're 100% correct. It's like, and it's every character too. It's not like it's not like with Jackson's films where it's like, okay, we have the Faramir and the Denethors where it's like, oh, Jackson, why'd you do that? But then you also have like Ian McKellen's Gandalf, which was brilliant. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
and
it's
Saruman,
in
Christopher Lee.
Saruman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christopher Lee Saruman. No, the Rings of Power. There is not it's why I tell people there is not a single event that is portrayed accurately, nor is there a single character that is portrayed accurately to the books. There's nothing there.
And most of
Uh,
them are made up anyways,
yeah,
not even part of the lore. You can tell too, and they try to make these names that sound like they could be from
yeah,
Tolkien. It's like, no.
no.
Okay, Sort of Poopus has a good idea. Bride of Gollum.
Bride of
Gollum
Gold.
meets Dracula. How green was my Gollum? And this is coming from people that are fans of Andy
Oh
Serkis
man,
and Peter
this
Jackson, and
yeah, this
yeah,
this this is great. How many Gollum movies can like memes can we make? Like
Return of the Gollum.
the
I'll
good
tell you, everyone get your AI out, and maybe we'll do
the
that on Twitter. See, that's what maybe we
the,
need to do. We
the
need to do more laughter.
you know, the good, the bad, the Gollum.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh gosh, we could do this with everything.
Every movie ever, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Gollum.
The oh my goodness, the Phantom Gollum.
Oh gosh, Revenge of
Oh,
the Gollum.
Revenge of the Gollum, Attack of the Gollums.
Oh gosh,
It's
do
just
this all
like
day.
just Star Wars names. I mean, hell, we could just do this for ages. Oh goodness gracious, it's
The
and
Gollum games instead of
oh
Hunger Games.
oh I didn't even play that game. I just remember watching other people play it, and I was just. Did you ever see any of the footage from
Oh,
that
from the
game that came out?
Gollum.
The Gollum video game.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I was talking
Oh
actually about like the Hunger Games or
no,
Catching
no,
Gollum.
no! I just the Gollum game is true. It's the one thing I can give it credit for is like they tried their best to like stick with the lore. Like there were parts in there. It's like okay, like it because a lot of Gollum's captivity in Mordor isn't specified.
Yeah.
So they had to expand on that, but I think they did. That's like the one part where they did okay. Everything else was terrible. Like, and it's sad when the B-rate Gollum game is more respectful to the lore than the multi-gajillion dollar Amazon project. Like,
Precisely.
good grief!
The
Like
Wrath of Gollum. Okay,
Wrath of
that
Gollum. Oh, that's good.
I
The
could
Wrath
watch
of
these all day.
Gollum.
Okay, well,
Make
speaking
that
of
a
the Wrath, I'll have the Wrath of the kitty cat if I don't go ahead and get her fed. So I'm
yep.
gonna.
I gotta feed mine in about 20 minutes. So yeah, I totally get you.
Well, this has been fun as always. I mean, revisiting Faramir is always. Oh, I mean, I now just want to reread the whole thing again.
Right.
Oh boy. So, are you going to be on any streams or anything coming up?
I might be on one. Maybe I need to talk to him. With Nerdporio Lifeform, I need to talk to him because I want to get on a stream with him. I really, 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 really want to do a stream with you again. Soon, hopefully. Talking more Middle Earth because it's always a blast.
Yeah.
And then I'm also hoping in the near future to I do have some videos scripted. I haven't started any production on them. I've just been way too busy. But I'm gonna get some videos out hopefully within the next month or so. I'm just gonna be pumping them out, and then I also want to get on a stream with Magitech Mags whenever I can because she's
Yay.
always a delight to talk to. So
Yeah, we love
um,
Magitech.
oh, Mags is the best. She's a sweetheart. But yeah, again, there's a lot of streams that I want to do. Nothing that's scheduled yet. So
No problem. Well, just everyone stay tuned,
yep,
subscribe, and follow him on Twitter.
yep. That's where I am most of the time. If you want to see me slinging crap at Rings of Power, talking about Middle Earth, or just
Or some lovely pictures of your
of
local Middle Earth.
yes. So that is one thing that I am gonna be. So I'm gonna be setting up an Instagram page here probably in the next couple weeks, just with some different photography. I'm heading up to Wyoming either later on this month or early next month. And I'm going to be getting some like really gorgeous vista shots out there, good Lord willing. And then just kind of showing off different places. And I also want to add, so what I want to do is I want to take different photographs of different areas and then attribute them to different Tolkien different regions of Middle Earth.
Hmm.
So like there's an area out east of where I live called the Pawnee Grasslands, and I want to get a series of like sunrise shots and things out there because it's like quintessential Rohan out there. It's just flat land and horses, and it's just very, very pretty. And with kind of like the mountains in the background and all that. So going to be doing a lot of that, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of that over the next few weeks. It's just a lot of different photography going up. So
Cool. Well,
Yep.
excellent. Well, and you can find me here on Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. I'm going to be having some more Fire and Blood / House of the Dragon videos, hopefully dropping tomorrow. I am going to be on Sporkings on Saturday evening with the Song of Ice and Fire stream. We're going to be continuing our reading of Fire and Blood. Also, hopefully, I'll be able to continue my House of the Plantagenet series, and we're going to be going with Henry II, hopefully on Saturday, as well as more pub crawl and anything else that catches my fancy. Oh, my birthday stream will probably be upcoming because I can. Why not? And that's just about it for now. Well, Tiansu says well wishes for good weather for photography. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, and thank you, Snortopoopas. You've been with us the whole time. Fantastic. Thank you for your support and your commentary. We've had Dadman Walking. We've had Conroy 1776. Let me see. I think a few others have been popping in and out. And for all of you that will be watching this on the replay, oh, Keely Child's been here. Thank you. And please watch, share, and subscribe. And be certain to read the original books by J.R.R. Tolkien.